Hello there, and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 713. That is 713 of the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and I hope you are doing fine wherever this lovely podcast may find you. I hope you are doing swimmingly. How am I? All good, all things considered. I cannot complain. Actually, for once this weekend, I'm in a jolly mood. Because guess why? United won, mate. United won. Stoppage time winner against Brentford. I don't care about the opposition. I don't care about how lucky the win was. I don't care about how fortunate it was. I don't care about how one-off it was. The fact that we won is still something that's going to fill me with jubilation. So I'm over the moon and I'm happy about that. So I'm going to be talking about that later today. I've got some other things to talk about considering the Joe Budden and Drake back and forth. I'll do a little review of the Drake album, of course. I'll touch on some fashion things. Yeah, he's got some crazy trademarks out there. Doja Cat is trying to piss off more of her fans. There's a new Tyler, the Creator update concerning some of the brands that he's working with. There's a Dixon Architectural Digest little thing I want to get into, and many other things also. So strap in, get yourself a drink, make sure you're moisturized, and let's get into the show. So to start off with, we want to really recap one of the most entertaining games in a long time, which is United v Brentford. A very strange evening, a mixture of emotions going on for most fans. I think if you're somebody who's had enough of Erik Ten Hag, who thinks he needs to be sacked ASAP, even though you probably still believe the Glazers are the biggest problem, which they are. You're frustrated with our style of play. You hate the players. You're probably in a little bit of a weird situation because you were kind of hoping Brentford would beat us. So it'll put more pressure on Erik Ten Hag heading into the international break so that then he might be able to get sacked, which is not going to happen anytime soon. I think any fan out there who is secretly hoping Erik Ten Hag gets sacked, you're going to be waiting a long time. Even though the Glazers have a track record of sacking managers who don't get into the top four, because Champions League football and that place and playing Champions League football, not trying to win the trophy, is the thing that they care about the most. So if you're a fan, I understand. But unfortunately, the Glazers still take a very long time to sack managers. It really is right until the end point that they do it. And considering how ill-prepared they've been over the years in terms of hiring managers who's on their shortlist and stuff, I don't have any faith that the owners have any idea who they're going to hire next. I think if I'm the owners, most likely these Glazers, these vermins who are sucking the club dry, they're obviously doing it in order to kind of try to get a higher bid than they've already got. There's rumors out there that the Qatari group have bid up to like 6 billion. Obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come out and he wants partial ownership for a significant amount, also maybe in the 2 billion mark. But they probably are looking for around 8 to 10, I'd assume. That's what they're holding out for. So if they're holding out for 8 to 10, they're going to hold out for it. They're not going to do any more extra investment into the club, especially when it comes to hiring managers, if they don't need to. So in their ideal world, they'd much rather hold on to Erik Ten Hag, do the sale, get that over the line, get the funds transferred, and then the new owners can do what they want with the manager. But I don't think they're in any rush to try and replace him because it would just add more headache and work. And we already know they're kind of, they're headache and work shy, so they don't want to get involved in that regard. So Erik Ten Hag would have to go on a really crazy odd run, and the club has got too many good players for that to happen for him to be at any risk of getting sacked. So I think if you're not a fan of his, just strap in and enjoy the ride. Unfortunately, for the game itself, very strange one, I have to be honest. I thought Brentford were very unlucky to come away with absolutely nothing from the game. I think maybe they got a little bit too excited towards the end. I saw a couple of their defenders punching in the air, getting really hyped because they were clearing balls, and it was only like the 80th or 70th minute or something. They were probably looking at the clock way too much. They probably should have just focused on trying to defend or scoring another goal. I was thinking, even though we weren't playing well, we didn't really have many clear-cut chances. We didn't really disturb their goalkeeper. We didn't really, stretch their defense. I did have a feeling that one goal wouldn't be enough. I had a feeling that we would maybe, sneakily jammy-wise, nick a draw. But I didn't think 1-0 for Brentford away from home would be enough to really seal the victory, personally. But they did really keep us occupied. What's his name? The strikers they have up front. Was it Wissa and then Mbeumo? did a really good job in terms of disturbing our centre backs. Even though I think Johnny Evans had a really good game for us, unfortunately enough, he played really well. He led the line well. I thought Maguire was fairly decent too. He actually had the assist that led to the winning goal. But Wilson and Wemmer did really well, but I guess they didn't have the cutting edge up front, which is probably what they're missing with Ivan Toney being out suspended for that, gambling infraction that he's got punished for. But overall, I thought they played very well. I think we controlled maybe the first 10 or so minutes. Then Brentford started to assert more control, and then their goal came just as they were starting to get a little bit more possession and little combinations forward in their kind of play. And I think the goal, if I'm not mistaken, came from Jensen, one of their three central midfielders. They had Janlet, Nordgaard, and Jensen playing in midfield, and I'm really impressed by all three. I thought they combined together really, really well, and I thought, if anything, they dominated their midfield. They really, really hurt us in midfield, especially with Casemiro playing the way he's playing at the moment. The Casemiro thing, I'm not really too sure what's going on. I don't know if this is just now his level, because there's been this common assertion out there that clubs like Real Madrid don't sell players who are at their peak. They very rarely let go of players who are not top draw. So most likely Real Madrid noticed that he was already on the wane and they were open to letting him go. And of course United came in with an offer that was stupid. They offered him obviously stupid wages, and he'd be dumb not to come to get one last big payday before he probably heads up back to Brazil or something before his retirement. So maybe people are saying that his legs are already gone and it's a level that we're going to get. I just personally think that United's a bit of a toxic and dark club, and it's no coincidence that whenever we buy good players, even if they start pretty decently, by the second season, they usually acquiesce to our current level. We saw it with Bruno Fernandes, we've seen it with many other players before that, where they come in, they start on fire, and then they slowly but surely revert back to form and how the club and the players basically play. So I don't think that's the case, but I also think the introduction of Amrabat has been a godsend. Our transfer window was absolutely shocking, but one thing I was really hoping for was that we'd get cover for Casemiro, because we saw how important Casemiro was for us, especially towards the end of last season, playing in that kind of defensive midfielder, kind of protecting the back four, and also offering an option on set pieces, and just having the odd goal contribution here and there. Important role for our team and the way that we play. So the fact that we got Amrabat in, for me, was a big thing, and I was happy that he was being able to play. I think what we've seen so far, obviously Casemiro wasn't playing at his best, but the Amrabat and Casemiro as two deep lining playmakers or midfielders doesn't work. I don't think their combination was great. I think when Eriksen came on, he naturally goes a little bit more forward and wanders around, so it basically left Amrabat on his own at the back, and I think he played a lot better being the main number 6, quote unquote, playing just in front of the defenders. And it obviously helped that he was playing in front of Maguire and Evans, who aren't the most mobile. Maybe Maguire isn't the best at his feet, so he was always the outlet, always in space, and he had a lot of involvement, and he kind of, I think, dictated and controlled the midfield pretty well in the second half. So happy to see Amrabat there. Overall, we didn't play well in the first half. They scored a goal. I think the goal was very concerning for Onana. I don't think that strike from Jensen was enough to trouble a goalkeeper of his level. Should be able to save that. That should be your fucking tea and cake. That should be simple for you to save. And the thing that I'm having an issue with when it comes to Onana is this: we bought him specifically for his ball playing ability. As a goalkeeper who can play out from the back, who can spray balls over the top, who can always receive the ball under pressure, it kind of allows our defense to kind of push up a bit further up the pitch, or just the team overall. And obviously it gives us an option to kind of play out from the back directly. Cool, no problem. But the issue with him is that his ball playing ability so far, we've seen, maybe isn't as good as people made it seem as. It's decent. It's obviously better than fucking De Gea, but it's not so good that it could excuse the mistakes that he's making as a goalkeeper. These unforced errors, these mistakes in concentration, I don't know what it is, are really concerning, because that shot from Jensen, if I remember correctly, I haven't watched the whole game back, but I watched it live at the time. If I'm not mistaken, it took either 1 or 2 deflections coming through, and it was quite central. And the way that he dived, I think I described it in the space I was in. He sort of dived like when you're not a goalkeeper and you try going goal and you dive, usually you have a tendency of trying to like dive towards your feet. You don't kind of dive outwards. It's kind of an unnatural position to put yourself in. You have to do that over numbers of training to kind of get into the habit of like stretching your body to kind of stop the ball. And he didn't do that. He sort of like dived towards his feet like he was an amateur. And if anything, he kind of reminded me of like KSI in one of those charity matches, the way he kind of dived. It was really strange. So that was really odd. And then when he dived and went to touch the ball, he sort of tried to scoop it, which is an odd thing also. Instead of trying to just hold his hand down, have a strong wrist, which a lot of keepers do nowadays when the shot is low, you basically hold out a really strong wrist to take out the power of the ball, and then you kind of gather it with the second touch. You try to kind of scoop it out of the goal, and obviously that didn't work. He scooped the top of the ball trickled in, and of course another big mistake. Even though people could say the screening in front of him wasn't the best, maybe someone should have blocked it. I think Evans or somebody turned their back to the ball, whatever. I just don't think that shot should be enough to trouble a keeper of his level, which is really concerning, because it's not only that he's making mistakes in big high pressure games, he's also making mistakes in games that we should be winning, like Brentford at home. Do you know what I mean? That's the real worry for me, and it's looking like most likely we made a mistake. And the issue is not that we made a mistake as Club Zoo in terms of signing Onana. I think we waited so long to replace David De Gea. We left it so to the last minute. When we got another goalkeeper in, we didn't have an option of like basically phasing him in, of having an opportunity to phase out De Gea and having an opportunity to play Onana at the same time, or maybe flipping between the two. And then when the summer comes around, you let go of De Gea like normal teams do. Instead, we had to kind of do it all really bluntly right at the end, figure it out on the go. And now I think the management or the team should realize that, Onana maybe isn't at the level that we need, top level, to kind of take us where we need to take to. But whatever. I think after that, we defended pretty decently. Second half was pretty okay. I thought the substitution of Casemiro for Eriksson was an interesting one, even though I personally would have taken off Bruno, because I feel like he didn't really do anything of any particularities in the game. He was very quiet, very ineffective. Rashford probably played pretty decently. He might be a bit unlucky to get subbed off, but I thought towards the end of towards the 60th minute mark, when he did get subbed, he was starting to look like he was tired and running out of ideas. And as per usual, I think the issue I have with myself when it comes to the substitutions with this team is just that I personally think, having played a little bit of Sunday football, a little bit of Saturday football, I just know what happens to a dressing room when managers refuse to like rotate players because they are quote unquote the best ones. It's not good for morale of the team. It really isn't. You need to have this, there needs to be a way of there needs to be like a culture in the dressing room or in the team where everybody's place is up for grabs. Nobody's place is guaranteed. Of course, unless you're the top level player like a Messi or Ronaldo and stuff, fair enough. But for the most part, everyone's place should be up for grabs. And then you kind of, what it leads to is then a very competitive team who's always trying to play for positions on the training days. And then when it comes to the matches, it leads to really high performing teams, because if you don't play well, someone else might come and replace you, take the shine away from you, and then start the next game, and then you won't get a sniff again. But for some reason at United, we have this culture, especially some of our fans online, whenever you suggest, Bruno should get subbed, Bruno should get dropped, Rashford should get dropped, the immediate reply is, but for who? As if to say the options on the bench aren't an option. It's like, why do you have them on the bench then? Why do you have players on the bench if they're not options? Just to make sure that the game goes ahead. I don't think that's the case. Even if the players on the bench isn't technically as good as the ones on the pitch, they should be allowed to play so that it could remind the players who are on the pitch not to take their place for granted. And I think, for me personally, having played a bit of the game, I just feel like Rashford and Bruno take their places for granted. They know they're always going to play, and I don't think that helps for the squad harmony. And that also might be in part why, Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho are having this fucking standoff that's happening. But anyway, that is something for another time. The game itself, attack-wise, I thought we were pretty blunt, kind of ineffective. I thought the game changed for the better when Anthony and Garnacho come on. Even though Anthony wasn't great, I thought because they're both at least have the intention of going forward, it kind of changes the way our team moves and attacks and how the opposing team sort of deals with us. I thought as soon as Garnacho and Anthony came on, unfortunately for Brentford, they dropped about 5 to 10 yards deep. It invited us. It kind of gave us more space to run into. It put more pressure on them. But then the final substitution of McTominay was the one that really surprised me, because I was like spitting at the I was like going crazy at the screen when I was watching the stream. Like, oh my God, why did you bring McTominay on to try to win the game? And McTominay does what good players should do and shuts me the fuck up by scoring 2 goals in extra time of normal play, bro. 2 fucking goals, and the winner was absolutely madness to see the scenes. and he came on like a man on fire. He came on with like a man possessed, and I think he said in the post-match interview that he was watching the fucking David Beckham documentary on Netflix, and that kind of inspired him and reminded him of how great a club United was, which is, right? Because if people forget, we were actually an amazing club at one time. Now we've been flipping, dragged into the doldrums, and we're fucking pathetic as a football club, mainly because of the Glazers and inept management and shitty transfer policy and really entitled, egotistical, fucking like crazy, deluded fucking players. But we were once a very great team. So he was reminded of that legacy when you watch the Dave Beckham documentary, and he came on with a point to prove, like, this is Man United, right? I mean, in that kind of this is Sparta mode. And first, to me, I think that first goal was really good because, I was watching it on stream. I kind of turned my head back quickly as it was about to go in, and I honestly thought that was Højlund. I didn't know that was McTominay because the way he kind of spun, controlled the ball on his knee. Sorry. Without even, I don't think he even dropped. I don't think he even bounced, one touch and bang, volley into the bottom corner. That was a superb finish. And then the second goal with the header, just over the keeper's hand, was really good as well for the winner. Like, he was on fire, bro. He scored 2 goals within 2 or 3 minutes and shit, and obviously helped us to win the game. So I was over the moon, jubilant, very, very jubilant. I think some fans weren't that happy because they were hoping we would lose so Erik ten Hag could get fired. I just don't think the club is ever going to fire him so quickly into the season. It's not going to happen. Again, I just think with the looming sail above their heads, it doesn't really make much sense for them to try to go out there and find a new manager. So it's not going to happen. So we'll sack him. We'll have fucking Steve McLaren be the coach for a time. It'll just be super annoying. I'd rather just let the club bleed as it is. We're not going to win anything anyway this season. It is a bit of a fucking gimme. We're not playing for anything, in my personal opinion, apart from maybe some domestic trophies. So just let him kind of do what he does. And then when the new ownership comes in, if the team is still not performing, he'll probably get fired anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's no rush. So it's kind of on him to perform well, and it's on the players to also perform well, because when this new ownership comes in, you would assume they'll want to start from a somewhat clean slate. You would assume so. But again, who knows when it comes to these managements and these teams and shit. But overall, very enjoyable game. Very happy with the win. The performance, again, wasn't the greatest. I think, there's a lot of question marks around the team and our formation. I think one of the big question marks for me is Erik ten Hag's decision-making ability. Because a lot of fans online, myself included, fucking idiots that know nothing about the game, who just kind of talk about stuff online and stuff. We were saying from the onset, why is Amrabat having to play left back? I understand we don't have any current left backs at the moment that can play in that position, but surely if you spent all that time and effort and money to get Amrabat in, lastminute.com, you know how important he is to play in midfield, why wouldn't you just play another centre back at left back? It's a makeshift stopgap option. It's not ideal, but just playing an actual defender at that position should be a better option than playing a world-class, I think, defensive midfielder in that position. It makes no sense. And finally, Erik ten Hag did it, tried it, played Lindelof at left back, which was helpful because Lindelof is also a left-footed centre-back. That kind of helps, but it doesn't really matter. I guess you could still play them as a free and have Dalot be out, kind of advancing as a really attacking fullback on a wide here, whatever it may be. And then, of course, he can tuck in and make a little screen with the midfielders and make it like a 3-3-2 or 3-3-1, sorry. But as soon as we played with Amrabat in midfield and had Lindelof at left back, it gave the overall team a lot more balance, because I've said before, people underestimate how difficult it is to play left back. Left back is a really, really hard position to get, because the balls are coming across here, they're coming from behind, they're coming over the top, especially if you're in your natural positions. You've got a lot of blind spots that you have. There's a lot to defend, a lot to kind of look after when it comes to defensive discipline and positional awareness playing at left back. So having a midfielder there is just doesn't make any sense. I'd much rather have a centre back play there just to fill in the gaps, and I think that balance worked a lot better personally. And of course, with these three, you have Lindelof, Evans and Amrabat. You also have 3 pretty decent ball playing players in the first place, so why not have all these 3 next to each other, and then they can allow them to kind of spring the ball forward to Mount and Rashford and whatnot. So again, good decision finally that he made. I thought the Eriksson substitution at halftime was also a welcome change, because he does wait too long to do it, but I thought the changes and how animated Erik ten Hag was on the bench, legitimately, I've never seen Erik ten Hag that animated on the sidelines before. I think that was proof enough for me that he was really nervous. I think this game was win by any means necessary. We won. I'm happy about it, but definitely it was squeaky bum time for fucking Erik ten Hag. He was feeling the fucking pressure. So I'm glad that he got the pressure off him. Hopefully now he's realized the error of his ways. Hopefully now we have a team and a selection process that isn't just based on GA and what you did for me lately, because I feel like Bruno Fernandes and Rashford don't deserve to play based on current form. But again, people will tell me, play whoever's on the bench. It doesn't fucking matter, but he won't, because he wants to do that. And if he keeps doing that and keeps putting his faith in fucking Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, most likely those two players will get him sacked. That's the issue. I know they saved us, and they saved his job last season. But the way they're playing now, if they continue playing the way they are, and if we continue being inconsistent as we are, they will most likely lead to him getting fired. And I just hope that doesn't happen, because if it happens, it'll stir all the attention away from the owners, who are the real cancerous problem in this club. That's what we need to get out ASAP. That's what you'd want. But again, what do I know? Then the other interesting thing about this is the fucking Premier League table. I just realised we're only 6 points behind City, who just lost against Arsenal today. I watched the game, actually. Very entertaining match. Arsenal probably deserved the victory on the balance of play, I think, slightly towards the end there. Very good goal. Kind of Route 1-ish. I think it was Partey from the back. Long ball out to Tomiyasu. He heads it down. Havertz controls it. Lays it back to Martinelli, who hits it, and it hits Ake and deflects into the goal. So pretty basic one, long ball type of goal, but really well worked. And they end up obviously beating Man City for the first time in a very, very long time. And Man City are third now, Arsenal second, Tottenham first. You got Tottenham and Arsenal both on 20, and Man City on 18. But United are in 10th, and we've only got 12 points. Even though it's one of our worst starts ever, we're on 12 points, only 6 points behind City. And we are facing Sheffield United away from home next. And then we've got the Manchester Derby the following weekend after that, after the Champions League game as well. So we have an opportunity, if possible, to actually close the gap between some of the top teams, which is weird considering how horribly we've started, and the fact that we've already lost so many games already, that we are in a position where we can get kind of close to the top teams. The Premier League is a weird place, but again, that obviously assumes that they also keep losing, which isn't going to happen most likely. All these teams have blips, they have a lot of players out and shit, but it's crazy to think that United are only 10th with 12 points and City are only third with 18 points, even though we've had one of our worst seasons on paper. We're not that far away from clubs that, clubs like Man City are going forward. So maybe there's a chance for us. Maybe there's a chance for us. Moving on from that one, I wanted to give some sad news, unfortunately. This is courtesy of the legend that is Sufjan Stevens, who's had a very hard time lately. I mentioned it before on one of my pods that he mentioned on his Instagram that he was suffering from some autoimmune disease that he was trying to get rid of or to help aid, and he was in hospital for a while trying to finish his album and just trying to, get the use back of his legs or something, like really horrid stuff. And it seems like, the tragedy just keeps on happening to this guy, even though, he's one of the greatest artists that we have out here and he keeps putting out amazing albums in the midst of all this personal tragedy. He released this statement too on Instagram that really kind of broke my heart when I read it. Courtesy of Sufjan Stevens, he says, "Javelin is out today. Thank you for listening. I love you. This album is dedicated to a light of my life, my beloved partner and best friend, Evans Richardson, who passed away in April. He was an absolute gem of a person, full of life, love, laughter, curiosity, integrity, and joy. He was one of those rare and beautiful souls you find only once in a lifetime. Precious, impeccable, and absolutely exceptional in every way. I know relationships can be very difficult, but it's always worth it to put the hard work and care for the ones that you love, especially the beautiful ones, who are few and far between. If you happen to find this kind of love, hold it close, hold it tight, savor it, tend it, and give everything you've got, especially in times of trouble. Be kind, be strong, be patient, be forgiving, be vigorous, be wise, be yourself. Like every day as if it's your last, with fullness of grace and reverence of love and gratitude and joy. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and believe God in it. Thank you. I love you. XOS." So in this post, which is very touching, Sufjan not only comes out, because I had no idea he was gay personally. I think a lot of people online are saying they did, but I'm also not the best judge because my gaydar is completely off. Like only recently I discovered or found out that, Tyrone Dillon one of the people that works behind the scenes there at Rick Owens. Him and Rick Owens aren't just like collaborators and design friends and shit and colleagues. Do you know what I mean? They actually have a little bit more adult fun, and only found out recently. So maybe I'm not the best person to judge, but it's really heartbreaking to see that Sufjan only came out recently and based on this post, but then he's also coming out dedicating the album to his love of his life that unfortunately passed away. Really, really tragic to see. And again, if you know anything, you know, about Sufjan's life and whatever he puts into his music and stuff, you'll know he's always had a lot of personal tragedy going on, you know, with his parents dying and shit, or his mum dying. Obviously this now with, you know, that's going on with his autoimmune disease, syndrome, sorry, that he has going on. And then of course, what's happening now with his partner is absolutely tragic. But yeah, man, love and light and healing and whatever else needed for Sufjan. Keep your head up, mate. Prayers and thoughts with you. And again, RIP to Evans Richardson, the partner of Sufjan Stevens, who unfortunately passed away. And his new album Javelin, which is out today, is dedicated to him. So big up him, big up him. Moving on, we need to quickly talk about this. Another tragic news, unfortunately, regarding Elianne, yes, I think it's Elianne Andam. Trial date set for the teenager accused of murdering a 15-year-old schoolgirl in Croydon. I'm sure most of you are aware of this tragic story that was all over social media, especially here in the UK, about this young girl who was 15 on the bus that was unfortunately stabbed and died of her injuries. I think when the story originally broke on social, for some reason there was this odd narrative going around that the guy had asked her for a number and she said no, and then he stabbed her in the neck, and then it just turned into like, oh, let's just bash men in general. All these guys online that are talking about men issues and stuff are the ones that are toxifying people's brains. It turned into an Andrew Tate thing. It was really strange how it spiraled, and I couldn't understand what was going on. And then when the actual real news of what actually happened was spread, it's actually more tragic than even that story, if that is capable. If you thought this guy tried to get her number, she said no, and he stabbed her, story was horrible, this is even worse. Allegedly, the story goes, the person, the victim was on a bus with their friend, and their ex-boyfriend, who's been, I guess, stalking her and not leaving her alone and stuff, who got on the bus also and was trying to, you know, get to talk to her and stuff. That wasn't happening. The ex-boyfriend and her friend get into an argument, which leads to the ex-boyfriend threatening to stab the friend, and then the girlfriend jumps in front of her friend to protect her, and the ex-boyfriend ends up stabbing her. So imagine how much more tragic that is in the first story. So just imagine how, again, that's what I've heard recently. I could be wrong, but that's the last story that I've heard. And if that is right, just fucking prayers and healing to that young girl. Like, imagine how she must feel right now. You know, her friend came, you know, you're protecting your friend or backing up your friend. Then your friend tries to protect you and they lose their life. Like, horrendous, man. I can't imagine what they're going through. Let's discuss your Sky News. It says teenager accused of murder, 15-year-old Elianne Andam has repeatedly stabbing her faces. Oh, it's repeated. Oh my God, I thought it was once. Oh my God. The 70-year-old boy who could not be identified because of his age allegedly killed Elianne as she made her way to her independent girls' school in Croydon. Elianne, who was studying for GCSEs at the Old Palace of John Wright School, had met up with two female friends before the alleged attack. First aid was administered, but she died at the scene near the Whitgift shopping centre in Wellesley Road. A post-mortem examination later identified multiple stab wounds. Not even one, multiple. Jesus Christ, 15 years old. The teenager defendant appeared in the Old Bailey on Tuesday wearing all black sweater and grey jogging bottoms and sitting between officers in the dock. Members of Elianne's family were sitting in the well of the court during the hearing, which lasted 30 minutes. Judge Mark Lufcraft set a plea hearing for 19th of December and a provisional trial date for 29th of April. Following her death, Elianne's family released a statement paying to a tribute of an intelligent and thoughtful girl. We as a family are struggling to comprehend this painful tragedy that has happened to our beautiful daughter. Our hearts are broken. Elianne was a beautiful person inside and out and loved Jesus. She was intelligent, thoughtful and kind. It was our request that you keep cherished daughter Elianne in your thoughts and our prayers. Jesus Christos. And in the recent update, again, another one says, this is the visual that took place where Stormzy joined in, which was really good of him because I think he's from there as well, is it, Croydon? It says Elianne Andam, Stormzy joins mourners in the candlelight vigil for the 15-year-old stabbed. And there's a video here we can also play to kind of show you what the visual actually looks like and sounded like. Very beautiful visual, to be honest, but it's just tragic that it had to be done under such circumstances. But a very, very fitting tribute. Let's see if this plays and we can hear what the visual actually sounded like here. Stormzy joined thousands of mourners gathered in Croydon to honour the stabbing victim, Elianne Andam. Jesus Christ, man. So many people. The 15-year-old died after being attacked on her way to school. Everyone around clapping, holding their phones up, I think, and candles. Jesus Christ. I think, are they releasing balloons or something? I'm not really sure. They're singing songs maybe here later on. Loads of flower tributes on the side of the road. Jesus Christ, bro. Absolutely crazy. R.I.P. Elianne. Stormzy joined loads of people. The grime artist was seen among crowds at the candlelight vigil Wednesday evening outside the Whitgift shopping centre. Elianne died after being attacked on her way from school. You see a picture there of Stormzy holding up his phone and a few other people with candles. The grieving family members had led attendees in prayer before they joined in the choir to sing Amazing Grace. Many people wore white to the gathering, where Elianne's mother, Dorcas Andam, described her as an amazing, beautiful girl. Miss Andam said her smart, charismatic daughter loved living life to the fullest and had ambitions on becoming a lawyer. Jesus Christ. She brought joy to so many, including her friendship groups. She loved and touched lives around her. Elianne, just a normal teenager, her mother said, I can't believe we won't be seeing her anymore. I can't believe she won't be here to complain about her teenage activities anymore. We should be planning her prom after year 11. Damn it, bro. That 50 had so much to live for. It was a sad day for the whole family. Now we're planning her funeral. God almighty, bro. Puts it into real perspective, innit? We should be planning her prom, but now we're planning her funeral. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? God almighty. Labour MP Dawn Butler shared footage of the vigil and a picture alongside Stormzy, singer and activist Jermaine Jackman. I think that's them there. And fellow Londoner Labour MP Sarah Jones and Belle Rubio Addy. It's tragic that they have to do this during that time, innit, right? These photo opportunities and stuff. But I guess, you know, so people like Stormzy, big celebrity as well, they will highlight and bring more attention to this sort of stuff. So you'd hope that even though, you know, knife crimes happens a lot in London, you'd hope this case, because it's so tragic and concerns such an innocent girl, that it would maybe lead to change. Unlikely, but maybe. In a post on X, this time must change. This is the time much change must come, it says. Elianne met with two friends before traveling to a shopping centre on the morning she was attacked. It is alleged that she was stabbed repeatedly by a Marks knifeman who later fled the scene. So the story of her protecting her friend may not be true. Maybe there was just an attack. Again, it gets more tragic the more details you hear. So the story that I heard is that she was trying to protect her friend from her ex-boyfriend. So maybe she didn't even know who the attacker was because he was covered. But he set out to kill her because, why? Because she was the ex? Jesus. Witness said the bus driver and the passenger by tried to intervene to save Elianne's life after the attack at 8:30 in the morning. Police responded to the incident in Wellesley Road within 2 minutes, but a teenager was pronounced dead at the scene. A 70-year-old boy was arrested. He has been charged with murder and is due to face trial on the 29th of April. Relatives previously said that her hearts are broken. She was only 15. I guess in these type of occasions, it doesn't really matter what led to the stabbing, but I would like to know in some respect, because this feels so wild. Like, it feels so fucking crazy to go after somebody at that age, such an innocent, sweet looking girl just before school. It just doesn't make any sense, really. But I'm sure in the end, we will all probably get more details to it. Again, it's not going to bring any comfort to the family because they've lost somebody so sweet and dear to them. But you only think, you would hope, because she looks so innocent and sweet, that this will lead to some sort of change. Again, very unlikely, because our MPs, our mayor, the government don't seem to really give a fuck when it comes to stabbings, especially if they unfortunately involve black and brown people. But you'd hope that this will maybe tug at the heartstrings of people, and they will legitimately start maybe making some changes, because this is just too much, man. It's becoming really, really, really too much. But again, thoughts and prayers to Elianne Andam, really and truly. Thoughts and prayers out to her and her family. Can't imagine what they're flipping going through. What a tragedy. And no girl really should be passing away at that age, really. And that line about we should, you know, we preparing our prom and stuff, and and now preparing a funeral really, really touched me, boy. So yeah, R.I.P. to Elianne, R.I.P. to Elianne. Moving on from that, I wanted to quickly touch upon Balenciaga's Spring 2024 ready to wear, which I was really impressed by personally. There's a lot of theories out there that allegedly this collection was Demna's kind of farewell to Balenciaga, that maybe he might be leaving it sometime soon, which I don't really think so, because he's made carrying a lot of money, and I don't really see them essentially trying to kick him out and get somebody else in new, especially since they weathered the storm of all the pedophilia shit that was going on with the fucking BDSM bears and shit. They weathered that storm. They came back pretty well, to be fair. Demna kind of learned his lesson. He's not really out here saying flagrant shit, which I predicted he would anyway. He would do that. He definitely learned his lesson. I think that whole edgelord provocateur thing shtick was getting old very quickly, even towards the end of VETEMENTS, the thing that he was doing where he was kind of, always poking fun at the fashion industry. It's like, look, you're part of it also. You can't, be a part of it, work inside this constraint and then also complain and dig, and kind of take the piss out of it at all times. If you love it or you don't. That in-between thing was a little bit annoying. So I'm glad he kind of dropped the edgelord thing, and now he's just getting back to making clothes, which he's always been great at, which is why I've always flipping like VETEMENTS, because there was no real theme or rhyme or reason behind what they did. They just put out fucking clothes. And I think Guram is probably doing the same thing with it, but probably going a bit too far by just putting out loads of shit. But still, I think Demna's really done a lot of great things for Balenciaga, and I don't feel like there's a really obvious candidate out there at the moment to replace him. Do you know what I mean? That's the issue. Unless Kering want to do the whole thing that everyone else is doing, where they're promoting really unheard of behind the scenes designs who the people in the know about, but the public don't, maybe. But I don't think there's a real standout person to take the job, and there really isn't even a standout crossover person in streetwear to take the job personally. Maybe apart from if you want to try your chance at getting someone like a Tyler the Creator to do it, right? Because I saw his recent collection for Lacoste, his Golf Lafleur collection with Lacoste collaboration was fucking amazing. He could be another bit of a wild card, but there's not really a standout person in streetwear who you would give a fashion house job to. There's not a lot of standout people in fashion that you give the job to. So I just think with Demna doing what he's doing and chugging along slowly without any controversy, why would you get rid of him? So I'm not really sure I buy that. But the show was interesting to say the least, because it featured Demna's mum here. I think that might be the first time I've seen her in press or anything, so she was on there, and a lot of friends and family were featured on the runway. It was also the first introduction we've seen to a plus size model on a Demna runway, if I'm not mistaken. It kind of feels like that moment when Hedi Slimane started to include black people in his runway. For a while, Hedi Slimane hated putting black kids on his runway, or black models anyway, for some reason. He liked that indie grunge look of just all whites and shit, looking like they're always on heroin. But he managed to find some black dudes also who don't mind the brown stuff, who look like they don't mind the brown stuff walking around, because if you know anything about your history, especially of music, you know that brown stuff wasn't just a white thing. Many people were on that shit. So I always found it interesting that Hedi, it took him a long time to get black models on a runway, when really and truly that scene, that culture, everything was really not based on race or color. Really, it was just kind of, if anything, more of a socioeconomic thing. But hey, what do I know? The collection itself I thought was really nice, great proportions in places. I liked most of the shapes. Even Kathy Horn was there, the original 5-star general of a hater there, one of the biggest and most legendary fashion critics on the world. One of the things that I really loved was these upside down sunglasses that they had featured here, kind of an upside down design. I really liked how they looked. They kind of gave it a little bit of a visor feel. They also kind of made it look similar to that guy in what's his name, the guy from is it Star Trek, the black dude? I forgot what his name is. He's got that kind of visor thing around the face. They kind of reminded me of that. You've got Diane Pernette here, right? The influential, again, fashion commentator, the one that talks like this, right? She's fucking amazing also, so big up her. She's in the fucking runway. Of course, you got your plus size model there, and loads of other industry people here who I don't really recognize, to be honest, but I loved it. One of the things I also loved, apart from the sneakers, was this wallet clubs thing that they got. It's like I guess it's like a passport holder, had a fake ticket on there too, but it kind of looked like it, which I'm a big fan of. I like some of the furry sandal shoe things. There's a few designers. I saw a Marcus Almeida doing it, and I forgot who else, but I've seen it featured on the runway quite often this season. People making shoes and bags with like frilly bits on it, so bits of fur sticking out, friendly bit sticking out of it. It's definitely become like a little bit of a trend you've seen on a lot of runways at the same time. So I love that whole big group think. Talking about big group think again, look at the proportions on these massive shoulders on some of these looks between 19 and 21, and again with 22 to 24. Very amazing. Again, I really like these heels with kind of look like a sandal, but they've got a heel on them, which is quite cool, right? You've taken the heel design, you've taken a sandal design with the big strap at the front. Instead of a big plastic strap, it's full of fur or whatever maybe, and then instead of just being a sandal, they've also got a high heel version. So you kind of take a very basic you know, run-of-the-mill sandal and you kind of lux it up by adding a heel. You kind of make it a little bit more chic. I love that. I love the bags with all the accoutrements and wallets and keys and locks and padlocks all over it. That kind of reminds me a little bit of that bridge, is it in Paris, where they've got all the padlocks all over it. So it's kind of got that feel. Or it kind of reminds me of those really bougie and rich, because usually a lot of very, very wealthy people who carry Hermes bags and whatever it may be, they usually bang them up. They don't, you know, care for them in pristine condition like a lot of people that have new money do. And sometimes you'll see them tying Hermes scarves around them, little padlocks and stuff, little trinkets and shit. They really abuse and love and abuse it, and the more weathered and fucked up it looks, the better. And I think that's probably maybe the kind of inspiration that Demna was going for with this bag that the model's wearing on look number 23. I really like the look of that. Again, great proportions. You got that clasp again in the hand, another great bag. I like the layering on the skirt here on look number 25. This proportions here on look number 26 with the model's face, really angular with the cheekbones and the shoulders and shit. It looks amazing. There's a pair of high heel boot shoes. I want to get a better look at them, but they kind of look like Chelsea boots with a really pointy toe, men's as well. I really like look at them. I definitely wear those. The double-breasted suit jackets look really amazing also. I want to try and you got the jeans here with the lace tie. Something I've been doing for a while and skaters have been doing forever and ever. I love the look of that also. It looks really great. You've got the 1/2 combat. This is a really good, I think this is probably going to get copied by Shein or one of those companies very soon. It's a pair of pants. 1/2 of them is camo combats and the other half is just a regular jean. I'm sure there's some company that's going to flip that and do that a lot. I really like this shrunken hoodie design that they have. It feels like it's shrunken, but it isn't. It probably is. There's probably more to it to design, especially trying to get it at this particular size, but it looks really fitted. It kind of reminds me of what it looks like to wear like a vest tucked into your jeans, right? That kind of athletic, kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme looking fucking kickboxer. I love that, with obviously the LGBTQ flag there. That's the guy, I think that's Kylie Jenner and Kendall's friend, and he looks really good here as well. Look number 34. This all leather look is so good. You got this massive long leather trench coat with a hood, leather pants with the drawstrings, a leather bag, a hoodie tucked into it with the glasses and the heels. Like, that's a bad boy look, I'm not gonna lie. I love also this look here on look number 37. I love the construction actually of this skirt. The construction of this skirt is really cool. It basically looks like a pair of trousers. They all look like trousers that have been splayed open and then pieced together to make this really long skirt design with this big bag. You've got Mike the Ruler here, I think, on look number 38. He's a real big fan of Vetements and what they do anyway. I'm not sure if he works with them behind the scenes and stuff, but he wears a lot of their shit and he's obviously wearing a great look there as well, so big up him. I recognize him from afar. Again, some good looks here. I love this hotel bathrobe, another great wrinkled trench looking thing. I love that they got these bags, these reusable plastic bags that you see in Paris a lot. I would love to actually go to a lot of European countries, to the local supermarkets, and see what they use as bags, because I remember every place is different. Like if you go to Berlin, I don't know if it's the same for all of Germany, but when people go to their supermarkets, they usually take with them a tote bag. No one usually buys plastic bags. Everyone kind of always takes a little tote bag with them, or they carry the things back home in the cardboard that you use to kind of display and take out the shit in the shop. When you go to Paris, you see a lot of people carrying these reusable sort of like, you know, plasticky tote bag things that you buy in the shop, right? So they'll carry those a lot. But I guess every country has their own thing. For the longest time in the UK, people would carry plastic bags because they're always free. But now that you have to pay for them, it's kind of half and half. Some shops make you pay for them by force. Some shops don't really enforce the rule. So sometimes people carry the plastic bag. Sometimes people just, you know, take their own tote bag with them. But I'd love to go to every European country to see what the vibe is there. Again, loads of nice bathrobes. I'm not really too sure about having 3 different bathrobe looks on the runway. It's a bit excessive. That's 5, isn't it? You got black, blue, red, and white. It's a bit excessive when they're all the same, essentially. But hey, what do I know? And again, you got the same thing with the track. Yeah, that's a bit much, bro. 3 tracksuit looks in 4. 1 black, 1 grey, 1 grey, and I guess whatever the color is, it's slate, whatever you call that is. Again, I like the proportions of it. I think there is something very well done about the hoodie. I think so. Again, I'm not really too sure about pattern cutting. I've never really sewn anything detailed, so I don't really know too tough, but I just know from how it sits and the proportions and stuff and the cut that there's probably a lot of work and a lot of man hours that goes into constructing this hoodie. I'm pretty sure of it, but I love the zip up hoodie with the glasses and the pants and stuff. That's like a perfect airport look, to be fair, traveling look and all that malarkey. I would actually love it in my life if I was able to be that person, because I see them a lot when I go abroad and shit, on vacation. You go to the airport, you pull up and you see a guy or girl wearing that amazing North Face bag. I think I've always wanted one of those actually to travel. It's like a North Face drum bag. It's like a duffel bag, but you can also put it on your back as a backpack. It's kind of, it's, you know, it's a decent enough size, and you'll see a guy or a girl just carrying that, and that's it. And you're like, wow, bro, how can you go away with just one bag like that? Like, I have to check in luggage. I'm taking 4 pairs of shoes. I've got an outfit for every day. I sometimes take my running stuff with me and then I don't run. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely incredible shit that I do. And people just are able to take a duffel bag with them on holiday, on vacation over the weekend, and come back all blessed. Or I've seen one time I went and I saw a guy legitimately taking a tote bag with him. He took a tote bag and he had some stuff stuffed in it, and that was it. I was like, oh my God, amazing. The new runners are really cool also. I like the runners. I love the fact that he always makes these really excessive, there's always gargantuan, crazy looking shoes that kind of look like sneakers, but also look, you know, too bulbous to be just regular sneakers. I love that, because essentially these are sort of like meant for walking all day long, essentially, right? He's kind of creating designer shoes that are meant for like walking around and having on your feet all the time, which essentially adds as a walking living billboard also. So it's a great little thing there, and usually the quality is pretty decent. Even the ones that I made in China, I've had 2, like I've had triple S's that I made in Italy when they first came out, because I got one of the first ones when they first came out. I was really happy about that. And I've also had the China made ones, and they're really decent quality, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie. The camo looks are really great also. I'd probably go for this sort of like whiter camo, probably be the one for me. They've got some great biker jackets with the O symbol. It looks like a B, but it also looks like an opium label. I love the padded shoulders on all these jackets and shit. These look really sick. Again, great motorcycle jackets. Again, the half and half combat pants here, courtesy of look number 56, look awesome. You got the leather trench. Some dresses are coming this way. A great track jacket, looks awesome. Again, you got a great hoodie jacket here. I love that logo. A nice dress here on look number 64 with all the flowers on it. I love the anti-ad block or stop sign here hoodie on look number 69 with the pointy shoes. Look number 71 is really awesome as well, as is 72 and also 75, 73. I love the look of with the hoodies and all the little designs on this as well. Kind of remind me of those kind of prison tattoos Russian people get and shit. Nice dress again, good dresses, good gowns, and again, you know, a nice wedding, or I guess morning, whatever you'd call it, right towards the end here. Then you get to some details which kind of give the details of the things that I want to see here. The glasses are sick when you look at them up close, the upside down glasses things, because they basically look like visors and they don't go around your ears, they sort of wrap around your head. So I'd have to kind of get my hair braided probably to wear those. They look really cool. You have the bag here with all the trinkets and shit on it. You got a front view of the glasses here, it looks really awesome. Actually, did this girl, what's her name, Paloma Elsa, right, the sister of the skateboarder, did she walk Balenciaga before? She might be the first plus size model then, isn't it, if she was there? I'm not really too sure. Again, I love the boots, with the pointy toe and a really, really tiny heel there. The clasp bag hand passport holder thing is really cool, detailed 5. I wonder if that's actually a passport holder, or if it's like a passport holder that's made to look like a passport. It's not, if it's a passport holder, that's actually a wallet. I wonder what it is. I would love to see what that looks like. Whatever this tote bag design is, I love it. Well, I don't know what it's called, deep look number 8, but I would really like that. I'm not gonna lie. I want to join the gang of guys who are wearing like women's handbags as satchels and shit. I think they look really cool. I'm not really too fond of these legging heel things, to be totally honest. The recruitments on look number 7 look really awesome. Again, those sunglass visor things, these are gonna be really popular. I think they're sort of like bat wing type of thing. It's gonna be really popular. Again, I love the sneakers personally. I think they are up there with the triple S's in terms of a look. I'm not too mad at these. Maybe you want them to be a little bit more thicker, but I'm not too crazy. I'm not mad at them. I would definitely like those. You got a clasp design here on the outside of the bag, which is kind of giving Hermes. You've got a shoe that you can hold in your hand as a bag, I'm assuming, as some sort of clutch. It looks really cool. Oh, look at the design of those heels. Look how they make your foot go so far forward. I wonder if that's just like a heel, if that's like an extra bit, or if that actually makes your foot do that. I doubt it. I'm sure that's just like an extra bit at the back here. The belt ring is an interesting little touch here on the finger. Again, you got the clasp. I guess is that the shoe they're holding in your hand as a clasp, or is this just a regular shoe? I'm not too sure. I'd love to see what that. I want to see some looks on the storeroom as well. Okay, cool. You got a bit of a translucent feel there with the glasses to see people's eyes. I love the cargos with the high heels, with the fur high heels. You got the long sleeve with the fake tattoos thing. It's a shame they don't make this in like brown skin so that I could have it too. They've only got this white, but I guess it's problematic if you start doing brown skin, long sleeve, fake tattoo things. So I get it why they're not doing it. Oh, they've got. Oh, look at this. This is pretty cool, isn't it? I didn't see that. It's like it's a luggage. It's an airport luggage bag, but it's been made in a material that is just a regular handbag. So it crumps up like a regular handbag, but it looks like a roller luggage thing. That's really cool. I'm not gonna lie, that looks really amazing. I would want that. That looks really cool. Great glasses again. I love the look of those. You got the peg. Oh look, you got ballet flaunt. You got ballet pumps, but made in heels. These look really cool also. That's not a shabby look. You got a model here wearing a do-rag on the runway. Very hip and very on brand there from Balenciaga. Well done for them. You got the sneakers, which would definitely be a hit. I think they probably look the best they've done in a while, because I didn't really like those ones that they brought out recently that look like a tire. I kind of prefer these look way harder. So do the glasses on detail look number 46 to 48, kind of conventional glasses from Balenciaga here, a bit of a metallic-y look to them in the blue, the pink and the orange or reddish type of colorway. Again, free, you know, they got the same glasses shape done 4 or 5 times here on the detail look. Bit strange, but hey, what can you do? Oh, I love the color on her hair there, the pink as well, sitting off. Good dye job there, good hair and makeup, nice glasses. The pointy shoes with the combats is a nice touch. The earrings are really good. Yeah, I'm not mad at this, man. I'm not mad at this at all. You got some good designs here. Okay, you got, so I guess what I said was true. That passport holder thing is not real. It's made to look like a passport holder that's got flight ticket things on it, but it's actually just a regular wallet. That looks really cool. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really too mad at that in the slightest. That looks really impressive. That's a kind of a very clever design. So you've got a passport, and inside it you've got all these boarding passes that, you know, are fake, of course, but it's also made to look real, but it's actually just a regular wallet. Like if you actually look on this side at the top here, you'll see it's just a regular wallet on the inside that's made to look like a passport holder with boarding passes on it that says Paris to Geneva. And Geneva, I guess, is where Balenciaga is based, or where Demna is based, one or the either, or maybe both. But yeah, big up Balenciaga for spring 2024, to be honest. Really enjoyed that collection, I'm not gonna lie. Loved everything about it. Let me quickly go back and see if there's anything else I missed here. I'm gonna have to reload everything again. Actually, let's read quickly the review and see what he said here. The review courtesy of Vogue magazine, which is written by a person called Sarah Moa. It says, I have to be me. I can't express my creativity. Sorry, I can't castrate my vision. I just can't do those things. It's not me. So this collection is a celebration of everything that I love about fashion. Demna was coming off a year during which he had felt very alone. In reaction, his spring 2024 show was a gathering of the people who have meant the most to me in my personal life. From his mother, who opened the show, to his husband, Loic Gomez, who also is known as Boyfriend, who wore the final wedding dress and mixed and scored the soundtrack. Oh shit, Boyfriend is at the end. Fucking hell, he looks amazing. They were, I wear my sunglasses at night. His remix of that song is so good. There were a lot of hot topics to unpack. When Demna talks of what he loves about fashion, he defines it in opposition to luxury. Some of his people were carrying faux passports with boarding cards to Geneva, where he lives, slotted into them. They were Balenciaga wallets. In fact, because it's more about identity to me, I questioned a lot about that, how fashion created. For me, I have to be honest. I don't care much about luxury. I don't want to give people propositions to look like they're rich or successful, because luxury is top down, and what is often seen as quite provocative to me is I do bottom up. Okay, which also explains why I have such an affinity with him, because I think we're the same. I also not the biggest fan of luxury and shit. I'm more, luxury to me is being able to travel to places, eat at nice restaurants, look after your friends, have a good time and shit, whatever it may be, pay your bills ahead of time, all that stuff, have yourself on auto pay. That to me is a form of, of luxury, as opposed to just going around wearing Cartier love bracelets and shit, personally. Demna's last ready-to-wear show was his comeback from the controversy that embroiled Balenciaga in 2022. He says, I look back at it and I really hated it, he says. Yeah, right, you didn't hate it, man. Yeah, walking the show, the mud, the aggression, the bears, like that show was actually pretty good. There was some really good highlights in it, some great jackets. Like, come on, let's be real. It's a good show, but it's very polished. In many ways, it was a show of fear. I don't like it when it's polished. I like it when it's rough. It's my aesthetic. That show was polished. All the models running around in the mud, the fucking skateboard hoodies covered in mud and shit. Like, those bits and bobs have been flying off the shelf. How can that be wild? But the fact that he views his stuff like that is crazy. I don't like it when it's too polished. I like it when it's rough. That's my aesthetic, and I have to stay loyal to that. What I showed today was probably my most personal and my most favorite collection, because it was about me. It was about my story. With his cast of family and friends around him, including Linda Lopa and other academic staff who taught him at the Antwerp Academy, the collection reiterated and underscored all the Demnaisms he's impressed upon fashion at Balenciaga, and before that, his first business, Vetements. Imagine being one of his tutors at the fucking Antwerp Academy. You have the grace to say whatever you want to students for the next 2 decades and plus. Do you know what I mean? They can't talk to you. You can just say, look, I taught fucking Demna. You got to listen to me. Do you know what I mean? I know what I'm talking about. He's now gone on to be one of the most important designers of his time, and probably will go down as one of the important designers in fashion history. You have to listen to me, right? Humongous tailoring, oversized hoodies and jeans, sinister leather coats, and military camouflage were represented. So were Pliss evening gowns, floral prints, bathrobes, motorcycle leathers. Demna's jockey accessories were everywhere. Balenciaga sneakers grown even more absurdly vast than ever. Supermarket grocery totes reproduced in leather. Oh, they're actually leather. Wow. Marabou trimmed men's kitten-heeled Bordeaux slippers and hand-carried shoes converted into clutch bags. I love that. Fashion should be fun, he said. He said with a laugh. Yet he was also arguing for it to be taken seriously. The opening and closing sections of a show were all made from multiple upcycled clothes, one-offs, and were sold under a new Balenciaga Atelier label. Oh, wow, amazing. You know what I was thinking actually about clutch bags? I've never actually worn one or had one, because I tend to lose things a lot. So in my head, if I had a clutch bag with my wallet, keys, a couple of 8 balls in it, I'd probably lose that quickly, because I'll just be putting it down places, walking away and forgetting I put it down. So I wonder what the thinking is behind people who are able to carry clutch bags with them. Maybe you go to places in Ubers all the time. Maybe you make sure you don't get too fucked up. Maybe you have to kind of train your brain to always hold it in your hand. It's an odd thing to have holding in your. That's why I like to have bags that have straps. I can just put it over my body and just forget about it, right? I mean, like, I've just like to, I don't want to fiddle around all the time. I want to have my hands free. So it's an interesting design proposition to put out there. I don't think dudes usually carry clutch bags, right? Unless you're a footballer and you got those little wash bag things that you all like. Demna said that he'd done a lot of sewing himself, aiming to find new volumes on the machine on some basic types that he used as a student. Vintage trenches, bombers were cobbled together with 4 sleeve apiece. Multiple evening gowns were made from multiple old evening gowns, black, silver, fuchsia, and satin and glitter gold. Meanwhile, the soundtrack, Isabel Huppert reading out the instructions of tailoring a jacket, told another story about the labor that goes into fashion. It took an hour just to record it, said Demna. Wow. By the end, Huppert's diction sped up almost to the point of hysteria with a pounding beat in the background. I wanted to put it in the spotlight. I wanted to show, fashion is a complex job, and I wanted to show that appreciation, and it adds to the value to it. I want her to be angry, but I wanted to show how intense this process is. And it's not marketing, it's not business strategy, it's about labor, it's about creativity, story, and craft. That's amazing. I kind of want to hear the soundtrack now. I need to start going back to watching actual shows. I only usually view the fucking images, but I need to actually watch shows to get a feel of what this stuff is all about and stuff. But Balenciaga Spring 2024 looked absolutely amazing. I love the clutches. That wallet design thing is very, very on. I'll definitely try and get the glasses and that wallet. To be fair, the bag probably might be a little bit out of my current price range if I wanted to get that. That bag is going to be pretty expensive, I'm assuming. This nice little tote handbag thing, I'm sure, isn't going to be cheap. The ballet pump heel things are really good design, but I'm still looking to get the ballet pumps very soon. Keep an eye out for that when I do the review on those. The clutch shoe bag thing is a cool little design also. I love that. Very fun, very creative way of kind of presenting a bag. The wallet is one of my favorite bits and pieces, I'm not going to lie. Those upside down visor looking glasses are cool. The fur high heel things, kitten heel things are great. All the accoutrements on the bag. I'm not too sure if they sell two. I'm sure it will be like that. There'll be 2 different versions. There'll be a version that has all these locks and keys on them and, you know, carabinas in like a heart-shaped design, and there'll probably be another one that's like a basic one, because this one looks like it's been weathered and dyed on purpose too. But I definitely prefer this version over the other one. But one of my favorite pieces for sure has to be this fake luggage bag thing. That's such a cool idea and design. I've never seen that before. Taking a regular airport bag and then turning it into a bag that you can wear over your shoulder is so cool. Like, I love that. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love that. Couple design. Actually, the hair and beauty is really good too. The braids, the dyeing of the hair looks really cool. The ballet pump, kitten heel things are great. These grocery bags that look like they're in the same plastic thing that they do grocery bags in, but they're actually made of leather are great. The airport gown, the Balenciaga sneakers here, they're going to be really popular, I'm sure. So the glasses, all of these things are going to do really great. And again, I didn't know the wedding gown was made out of, like, you know, it looks like fucking curtains your mum would have in their home and shit. I really love the look of these. So yeah, loads of great stuff on here, loads of great graphics. Another clutch bag here made in a high heel design. As you can see, there's a zip there. You can tell that's actually a bag. That's really cool. The pointy shoes here look really awesome as well, I'm not going to lie. Oh, they're actually flats. I thought their sandals were like heeled. They're not, they're actually flats. They look really great as well. You got the jeans on there. Another one with the clutch bag, the high heel clutch bag thing. And then you got boyfriend here in the end wearing the wedding gown. Really cool. Love everything about it. Not really mad at it in the slightest. Would love to see more very, very soon. Would love to see more. And then of course there's the beef that's ongoing between Demna and his brother Guram, which I'm also loving at the moment. Guram, who's now the head of VETEMENTS, they're trying to retell the story and make it seem like Demna and Guram are the same level ability design wise, which I don't think is true. I think the initial story of Guram being the business guy and Demna being the design guy is true. Obviously along the way they fell out, and then Demna stopped doing VETEMENTS and then Guram took over it, and so far, you know, he's done an okay job in maintaining the course that VETEMENTS was on, but I don't think anyone could mess with Demna era VETEMENTS. That Demna era was just too good, and I'm even still buying up loads of bits and bobs from it. I see people always asking for certain bits and bobs. That collection would be legendary forever and ever. But Guram had some words to say about flipping Demna and his collection of Balenciaga for featuring their mum as an opening look. He posted on his Instagram, right, Demna's brother, right, fucking hilarious. Proud to see my mum opening the Balenciaga show. Very sad that I was not invited to witness it. Praying for my brother's soul. God bless him. Imagine praying for your brother's soul on the fucking Instagram timeline is fucking hilarious. So clearly they've got a lot of beef there. Demna using his mum as a prop is crazy. The mum taking part and not wanting and not forcing Demna to bring the brother is fucking crazy, right? Fashion really has broken this family up, man. The Vasilias are on fire. It's like an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which is funny because I think somebody on social media posted a picture of a t-shirt that Vetements did before, that was keeping up with the Vasilias instead of Keeping Up with Kardashians. It was a little logo flip, which is fucking hilarious. So clearly there've been some issues in the background, which must be annoying because I guess both guys want to be stars. Both guys want to be in the limelight, but both guys aren't as talented as each other. Do you know what I mean? One guy is Demna and one guy is Guram. So, you know, there needs to be, I think, an acceptance of your place, even though you're still doing well, and then kind of just being a cheerleader for the other guy. I think that's probably a far better way to go about doing things. But again, what do I know? Demna's mum and stuff are going to do what they're going to do. He posted that, and then he posted this other thing on his Instagram, but he deleted it. He actually deleted this, but he posted this post that shows a Vetements gown with the model completely covered and hands covered from June 2023, and it shows the same gown style by Balenciaga made by his brother, recent collection from October 2023. And I love how he said Vetements and other brand. He really dislikes his brother, man. He really fucking dislikes his brother. So that's unfortunate that's happening, but again, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. If you read the article from the New York Times titled "The Man Who Wants to Be the Biggest Thing in Fashion," Guram Gvasalia of VETEMENTS revealed that he had been making out costume to Madonna postponed tour right before in middle of Couture Week. It was a classic move. So in this interview with Vanessa Friedman, or this article, he does say some very dicey things about his brother that will make you think, these guys aren't very close in the slightest. I think I'm going to try and get a quote here if I can find it. If I scroll down, you'll see a quote here. Rolling down, he's looking there. Yeah, so here you go. So here's a quote from Guram, right, talking about him, right? He says, you guys really misunderstand how it is, Guram says, referring to fashion media. And he scrolls down, you see him there with his grills and shit, so you can tell he's a different, you know, character to Demna. He's a bit more street, he's a bit more hood, he's a bit more wigger in his description of how he goes about doing things. And he says here, as a quote about Demna, "My brother is 6 years older. When I'm in second grade, he's in 8th. He got certain opportunities in life earlier. But if you consider where I am today, where my brother was, he was my age, I think I'm far more advanced." So this is Demna's brother talking about him in a fucking big, you know, New York Times article, the way like that he's talking, like absolutely crazy. Like, you talk about your brother like this in the press, ridiculous. Because you think even if you got beef, you keep that shit behind closed doors. But clearly they've been very competitive, very at their throats for a very long time. And, you know, he's basically saying, hey, I'm way further ahead now at my age than when he was my age. You know what I mean? You need to put more respect on my name, which is crazy. He also says, I give the best example that everyone can relate to. This is the ultimate disrespect, I feel like. The Kardashians, you have Kim, who is a great person. We think she's, whenever someone says that, you know there's going to be disrespect coming. So you don't need disrespected Kim, you have to disrespect his own brother. When everyone says they're a great person, by the way, I love them, it's like there's always some hate coming. Anyway, he says, the Kardashians, you have Kim, who is a great person. We think she's phenomenal. And you have Kylie. Kylie's the young generation. She's been very successful without having sex tapes, without having to go through all the things that her sister had to go through. Another example is Venus and Serena. They're both fantastic, but somehow there's a point where Serena manages to kind of take over. I think my brother is very talented, but I have completely different approach to things. He had a good run for 10 years, and I think his era is slowly coming to its finishing line. Now it's my time. So fucking toxic. Imagine saying you're wishing for your brother's fucking downfall. You're wishing it ends for him. He's not that guy. You're that guy. Absolutely wild. Then he continues and says, it's just the right time for us. After the momentum of our show, Balenciaga always releases news on the day of our show, so I feel like it's only fair. Always must be something of an exaggeration. Anyway, but you get it, right? You get it. Guram doesn't like Demna. Demna clearly doesn't like Guram, to the point where he didn't even invite him to be a part of the family and friends show that he put together, even though he said in a review that this show, right, if I'm not mistaken, if you scroll back to the top of the review actually of the spring 2024 2024 show, didn't they say here something about Demna was coming off a year which she felt very alone. In reaction, the spring 2024 show was a gathering of people who have meant the most to me in my personal and professional life. That's a fucking diss. And then he puts his mum as the opening look, but then doesn't feature Guram anywhere in there. And of course, everyone in the comments is going crazy as well about it. The beef is crazy. The Kardashians are fashion. I was not invited to the show either, and I'm not crying. Guram, did you invite your mother to open for VETEMENTS? Average Georgian family. That is your mom. Oh my gosh, she's stunning. People, you know, there's always someone going to be glazing in public. If this is a strategic drama leading up to a collection, good. If not, I'm sorry. Serial rivalry is personal. Another heart sign. Well, put your mum in the next show and invite him. Here is not Cain and Abel. You both have, okay, so it's glazing. Shut up. The Gallagher's a fashion. Exactly. Good one. Can someone please explain the situation? Just Google it. People that do this as well. Google's your friend. It's not difficult. So out of pocket, your local Kardashians, but better. Our local Kardashians, but better. Someone says here, I'm here for it. Please, the caption. What it says here? You should hire a PR. Did he reply to this? Hopefully, did he reply, Guram? No, he didn't. Okay, I thought you did reply to that. Someone someone says, what gorgeous. LMAFAO. Well, you can make the opening with your dad and not invite your bro. Anyway, both of you are talented. Why was he not invited? Praying for them the soul, ? Maybe we should all pray for your soul instead. Such a low PR campaign. People thinking this PR is hilarious. They clearly don't get along because Demna very much left VETEMENTS very abruptly, and he made it very clear he's not designing for them anymore. He didn't even try to come back and do ghost designing, and since then VETEMENTS kind of gone a bit downhill. Clearly, I think so. The maximalist, you know, paint by numbers, aggressive amount of looks that they have on the runway and stuff is just too much for me. There's some bits, some good stuff here and there, but their collections kind of feel like Chris Brown albums. You know, 100 tracks. I'm sure there's some good ones in there, but I'm not going to listen to 100 tracks. Same with them. I'm not about to look at fucking 100 looks of fucking VETEMENTS down the runway. Not happening. Another person says, Keki Menke. What's that mean? KKKC Manki. Don't know what that means. Excuse me, what? Some words in Georgian, spill the tea. I see if she went because she was invited and him not, what she did was more bad. Lack of empathy in the class than the fact that he was not invited. Learn ethics, please. Yeah, exactly. The mum coming in between this beef, right, and just have been happy she got her time in the sun is a bit wild. Do you know what I mean? Your mum should be the one kind of, you know, maybe, you know, trying to, I don't know, squash the beef. Is that too much to ask? Should Mumsy be trying to squash the beef, or should she be happy that she got invited to the show and she can walk the show and have a good time? She should be, I think, squashing the beef personally. But again, you know, what do I know when it comes to this stuff? I don't know jack shit. I don't know Jackie shit. But yeah, the Demners are beefing. They're always beefing. It seems like for some reason, I'm not really too sure why, but the Demners are beefing. Everyone's really upset, and hopefully there's a resolution soon, because no one likes to see the family feud in the timeline, especially not me. It kind of breaks my heart, I'm not gonna lie, but it's hilarious to see. It's absolutely hilarious to see. So nice. Moving on from that one, let's of course talk about the Drake album, which I really enjoyed. Really enjoyed. I cannot lie. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Drake album For All the Dogs that just came out over this past weekend. I tried my best to stay up for it, but unfortunately it was slightly delayed, so it didn't drop. I think usually when American albums come out on the Friday night, that's usually around 6 a.m. Saturday my time, so I've got time to listen to it a little bit before I kind of go to quote-unquote bed, or sometimes when I wake up, if I go gym early in the morning, I can listen to it straight away, but I didn't, so I had to kind of wait for everybody else to listen to it. Then by the time I woke up in the afternoon of Saturday afternoon, I was able to listen to it at home and listen to it a little bit into the gym, and I have to be honest, I really enjoyed it. I know some of the reception from people online hasn't been the greatest. Obviously, we're going to speak about the Joe Budden stuff, but personally, being a fan of Drake and mostly being a Take Care type of fan, that's kind of when I started, and that's kind of my introduction to Drake. And obviously also being a fan of his sort of musical journey and understanding kind of where he's coming from because of the experience I had being a Weekend fan. I'm still am, but that experience of kind of having somebody do House of Balloons and then go and do something like Kissland and then obviously go and do the albums he's done subsequently, you can realize that some artists, although we would love them to be like Ye and to take chances on each albums and to be experimental and shit, some artists enjoy, you know, trying to challenge themselves and become a pop star, which basically has its own levels of challenge because you have different level of fans and people you have to basically satisfy. And there's also people who just want to do their own thing. So, you know, not everybody can be a Ye, not everybody wants to be a Ye, and that's perfectly okay. So I'm judging the album solely based on Drake's previous work, and I have to personally say I think his previous, if I'm not mistaken, his actual last proper album was Certified Lover Boy, if I'm not mistaken, right? Not collaborative anything, just an actual album was Certified Lover Boy. And I possibly can honestly say I didn't really enjoy that. The compilation was great, and honestly, never mind, I enjoyed that because it's got a lot of electronic dance music type inspired stuff that I'm obviously into, like loads of like what you describe as housey, tech housey, deep housey, minimal type of sounds. I'm already a fan of that, the same way I was a fan of what's that one called, the one that's got flipping gigs on it, because that was also kind of the similar type of vibe. The one I'm thinking about is More Life. That also had a lot of kind of, you know, danceable kind of tracks that he probably have heard when he was on holiday and out and about and shit. So I'm not really that bothered about the compilations. I quite like them. I know a lot of fans don't, and they prefer to just have rapidy rap albums or R&B albums. But compared to Certified Lover Boy, which unfortunately for me was a big disappointment, I really did like For All the Dogs. I think All the Dogs has been one of the better, most interesting albums that Drake has put out in a while. Different flows, different sounds. Sonically it sounds really interesting. The beats go in interesting places. The features are cool. Like, I'm a real big fan of the album. I really did enjoy it. And I think first kind of like critique would be, I would probably change the ordering a little bit, the sequencing of the album slightly. As good as Virginia Beach is as a track, I might start off with Amen with Tazz Touchdown as a feature going first, because that Tazz Touchdown feature is absolutely flames. And it's annoying because I'm a fan of Tazz Touchdown, but that album he dropped recently was really, really underwhelming, considering as well how great his features has been. It's sort of similar to J. Cole. J. Cole's been smashing it with the fucking features the last 18 months or so. If he was to drop an album and it's underwhelming, people are going to be really disappointed, because you've kind of, you know, our expectation levels are super high because of the features you've been doing. Same with Tazz Touchdown. He makes all these amazing features. Then Drake goes out of his way to say that he's the most incredible artist he's ever worked with. More pressure. The album ends up dropping and it's a bit of a meh. I haven't listened to it again since it basically released, which is a disappointment because he's a really good artist. And he reminded me of that, and his range, musicality, and all this malarkey, and his talent on Amen. He sounds incredible on it. I really do love him on the album. Sounds fantastic. Sounds really good. And he's got a few writing credits on this album as well. So clearly the guy's pen is no joke. Calling for You featuring 21 Savage is a really good tune. I really enjoyed 21 Savage's verse. Fear of Heights is also one of my favorites on there. Daylight I really liked. Of course, First Person Shooter with J. Cole. Everybody's loving that. I Don't Give a Fuck featuring Yeet is fire. Flames, actually. I really flipping actually enjoyed that. I also enjoyed 7969 Santa, which flowed incredibly well with Slam You Out. And how much different does Slam You Out sound now that we've kind of heard it in sequence? How much different? It sounds absolutely incredible. I love Slam You Out. Really, really amazing tune. And then actually one of my favorites, I'm not going to lie, is Bahama Promises. I think this free run is maybe one of the most emotive runs I've felt in a while. Like, this does something to me when I hear 7969 Santa, Slam You Out featuring SZA, and Bahama Promises. One of my favorite free song runs from Drake in a very, very long time. It's just, there's a real warmth and a feeling to it, especially Benny X. I'm thinking about his productions and stuff. Although he has that style that a lot of kids love nowadays, I don't know what you'd call it, that sort of like digitized, synthy, almost tinny sound. He still has an ability to make his tracks feel warm. I don't know how to describe it else, but that's the way I kind of describe it. Benny X has a really talented ability to make tracks feel some level of warmth to it, and I think he does a really good job of slamming you out. But Bahama, and obviously the other person involved is too, is called Grant Lapointe as well, so big up those people. And I think there's meant to be 4. Who else is involved here? Noel, Castarde, 40, and Drake and D10. Bahama promises, but it's absolutely flames. Absolutely love that track. Then it gets into Tried Your Best, Screw the World, Drew Picasso. If I was being really picky and I wanted to reorder this album and cut some fluff out, because I think there is a real lack of really aggressive self-editing when it comes to music in general. But I also think Drake is a peculiar one because he's always been somebody that's been willing to give his fans more, right? Because obviously he's one of the biggest artists out there. He likes to give people soundtracks for their lives and shit. He mentioned it all the time on his live shows. So I think looking at his discography, you can't really find many projects that he has that are like less than less than 10 tracks. They don't exist. He always gonna do more than 10, and sometimes he'll give you a fucking double disc just to kind of keep you happy and shit. So he's never gonna do a 14 album track. Or no, which I think the last 14 album might have been More Life, innit? More Life I think had like, yeah, or even More Life wasn't that short. I can't think of one. Maybe was it the Care Package that was quite short? 17 tracks on the Care Package. I can't think of many that were really, really short. 14 tracks was the last one I can see here was Dark Lane Demo Tapes, which again was a compilation. So I would like him to do a tight 14 as an album or even a 10, but we're not going to get that in a while. So if I had to do it myself, I would have probably stopped the album around track 12. If anything, I'd probably make it 14 tracks, and then I'd include some flame ones, which are on the other side, because I think the first, let's say 12 tracks on this album are bad, are super, super good. And then the other second half, I think it kind of falls off a bit of a cliff, unfortunately. Members Only featuring Party Next Door is a real disappointment. I was really looking forward to hearing Party Next Door again. I'm not too sure if his sound is dated, or if it's just him, or if it's my ear, and I've kind of, other people have come in and occupied his space that he used to take up in my, listening, whatever it may be. He just doesn't sound the same. Party Next Door doesn't hit the same as it used to do in the past. And again, I don't know what's happened. It might not be him, it might just be me, but something has happened and he doesn't really resonate with me the same way. So I didn't really enjoy Members Only. What Would Pluto Do? I could really miss with that one. The All the Parties featuring Chief Keef was a really interesting one because you couldn't really hear Chief Keef on the track, really, to be honest. I like how they kind of flipped around with his voice and shit. The production on it was absolutely crazy good as well. 8 AM in Charlotte I definitely include in my top 15 tracks or 14 tracks if I had to kind of slim it down. I also like Gently featuring Bad Bunny, but I'm also a big Bad Bunny fan, so I'm probably a little bit biased in that regard. And then I also thought a real big sleeper, an undercover hit, is Rich Baby Daddy featuring Sexy Red and SZA. This is a really underrated track, but I think this is going to go off in the clubs. It'll go off live. Like, this mixed well correctly is going to be a banger. And then another Late Night featuring Lil Yachty. I didn't really enjoy Drake's verse on this. I like the production. I think the video is really great, but it's something I can kind of miss. And then Away From Home, I was really a big fan of at the end. One of my favorite tracks. I love when Drake gets on his I remember, you guys aren't shit. I always keep a grudge type of energy because, I'm usually somebody that tries to be the most... I try to be purposely forgetful, right? I always try and kind of do a little bit of a self-deletion in my brain of people that have maybe fucked me over in the past so I can just keep moving. But it's also nice to be reminded by a stellar artist that no, use those guys as fuel, as motivation to kind of keep you going. And that's the kind of energy I felt for the entire album, because I think Drake warned us many times this was going to be, it's kind of, it's in the name For All the Dogs, that it was going to be a very honest, maybe brutally honest album that was also going to be veering on the side of misogynistic, maybe on the side of toxic masculinity, but it was going to be the opportunity to kind of talk his shit. And I think he told us also he was talking some shit on here, and I think he ended up talking a lot of shit on it. I think there's bars here that people are alleging were going at Ye. There's bars here alleging going at Rihanna and saying the sex was average and stuff, taking the piss of maybe Rocky and the fact that he can't leave her. Like, loads of little subs and digs at certain people on this album. And I think personally for me, I enjoyed it because it sounded like it came from a real place. He actually sounded, I wouldn't say hungry, but he sounded annoyed, right? You know what I mean? He had that kind of annoyed, like, what are these guys talking to me about? What those LA guys doing now? They wave their hand, the little goons and stuff. Like, he had that kind of energy about him, which I really enjoyed, to be completely honest. But like I said, if I was really kind of critical, I'd have kind of slimmed the album down to about 15 tracks if I could. He's never going to give me a 10 album, which I would love. 10 bangers, 1 to 10. But if I could get down to 15, I could easily do that. And I think I'd get rid of most of the second half after maybe track 12. And then I'll maybe include, like I said before, 8 AM in Charlotte, Gently featuring Bad Bunny, Rich Baby Daddy featuring Sexy Red and Scissor, and of course Away From Home. Really did enjoy that, and I thought that was cool. And I also like, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I think the him and Yachty relationship is pretty cool. I'm liking how they're hanging out. I'm liking that he's having a new lease of life with Yachty around. I think there's no coincidence that since Yachty's been around, he's been dressing in a way more quote unquote cooler way. His style's definitely improved. You can obviously see with the inspiration with the nail polish, the clips in the hair and stuff. I think all of that stuff is necessary and needed if he is an artist at his level, because he's achieved everything, right? Where else is the motivation going to come from? You need to have it by the people you're surrounded by, because you can have everything that money can buy, and some things that you can't buy, like friendship, you kind of get inspired through that, through their stories, through their experiences and stuff, and that can maybe inform your art. So I'm a big fan of it, and I'm eager to see how this relationship develops and grows and goes into it. And I also think there's something to be said for Yachty's ability to be friends with Drake because of how much of a smaller artist he is. I think there is, in general, definitely, you could tell from looking on the outside looking in, guys at that level probably find it hard to make friends because everyone's always wanting something from them. So when you find somebody who's secure in themselves, doesn't need you for anything, and just wants to be your friend, it's quite refreshing. So it's no surprise that Drake has latched on to Yachty and is now calling him his fucking best friend in stadiums and shit, right? Because he probably doesn't meet a lot of people, especially kids or artists at Yachty's stage, who are not trying to get a feature out of him every time they meet. They're not trying to get him to listen to music. They're just talking, hanging out, talking shit, busting each other's balls and stuff, and just doing what friends would do. So it's pretty cool to see, even though some people don't agree with Yachty's music and stuff, whatever it may be, it's cool to see that he's clearly got a personality that a lot of the bigger dudes in hip-hop and the music industry kind of like. And of course that will probably solidify him for years and years to come, because they're always going to look after him. So I really do like that. But we need to talk about the controversy regarding some of the reviews out there, and namely the one and only Joe Budden. It has to be said, though, before I continue with this, that Joe Budden really does have a talent and ability to get himself in the news. It's definitely something that people don't put a lot of respect on his name about that, but his ability to generate clicks and get eyes and ears on the stuff that he does is really second to none. You really cannot underestimate just how difficult that is to do, because none of them, I don't think, there is some exception, obviously. Recently we've seen it, but I think for the most part, everything he says he believes. He doesn't just chuck out hot takes for the sake of it, and they usually come from an informed opinion. So Joe had some very particular words to say about Drake's album. Basically, in conclusion, he didn't like it, and I think some of the stuff that he said probably hit Drake a bit close to home, or annoyed him to the point where he wrote an entire reply in DJ Academics' comments. And it's funny, the DJ Academics connection, because Academics is an unapologetic Drake stan. He's a lover. He fucking loves Drake. That's his goat. But Drake is also a little bit arm's length when it comes to Academics. He doesn't really fully embrace him. So this was probably the first time you see Drake really on Act's page commenting like that, engaging. Like, you can clearly see he follows the page. I mean, like, he doesn't really let it be known too much that he's Drake's guy, that Drake and him are cool. He kind of lets Act say it, but he doesn't really like to say himself. Like, he didn't get on stream with him when he streamed the album, which was a bit sad. And so to him to jump on the comments that way, the comment is really interesting, and obviously to do it directing at Dro, who's also a friend of Act, was really interesting. But I want you to hear what he had to say regarding the album, because he has a point in what he's saying, but I think some of the bars are a little bit too personal, which is why probably Drake replied the way that he did. And I'm going to give you my reaction, and then we're going to continue. So let's hear Joe on Drake's new album, For All the Dogs.
This is like Yachty rapping. This is like he rapping for the children. And that's yo, dog, I had to look up how old this nigga was when I finished listening to the album. Mm-hmm. You are 36. Your birthday is in 20 days. I Googled that too. You will be 37 years old. Get the fuck away from some of these younger niggas and stop fucking these 25-year-olds. I'm listening to the album.
You mentioned it.
Why are you still fucking the 25-year-olds? You're a 37-year-old billionaire. I get it that you appeal to the world.
Once they current.
I get it that you appeal to the world, and part of that is
niggas don't want to grow up.
But that's what I'm loving about Cole. Like, my shit is happening in reverse. Like with Cole, he used to rap about kid shit. I'm a grown ass, like real Jersey City nigga. I don't want to hear how you lost your fucking virginity. And then he started to grow up. And then the rapping sounded like an adult rapping. I'm want to hear adult Drake rapping for adult people.
No, you're not gonna hear that.
That's my issue with him today.
You're not gonna hear that because
he rapping for the kids, the streams,
the Instagram comments, the algorithm.
Yeah,
I'm rapping for this.
No, he ain't really rapping. He ain't trying to rap for me.
No, he's not.
And I accept that.
I don't know.
I accept that. Listen, he has given me
enough.
I certainly don't want to sound like I'm sitting here complaining. If he don't make another song, I am well fed. Pause.
Right, that was my take.
He did it already.
I can hate everything he puts out going forward. I got enough Drake in my iTunes. I'm good.
I get what he means, but I just think when it comes to a fellow peer who was in the music industry and knows how difficult it is, it's always going to hit different. I think this has been one of the unfortunate parts of, you know, I guess Joe's accession in podcasting. I think he's seen, unfortunately, because he was a former rapper himself, no matter how constructive or well-meaning his critique is of some people, it's just always going to be received the worst way. And for some reason, artists, particularly, especially hip-hop artists, are incredibly sensitive and unwilling to receive any kind of criticism that isn't just sucking them off. So I think a long time ago, Joe basically stopped caring, and if he doesn't want to get on your nerves or he thinks you're going to cry, he just won't mention you, which is bad because, you know, it's kind of apathy. But if he does want to make a point of something, he will basically say it in the most harshest way possible, because why not? So I kind of get it. I just think when it comes to Drake, it's like you need to basically, you need to kind of critique Drake in that more so in the lens of, do you enjoy the music, yes or no? If you don't enjoy it, yes. If you don't enjoy it, yes, what it is. But critiquing his music based on his lifestyle choices is a little bit low, especially when you're Joe yourself, right? Joe was known as being the guy. He was the guy who was known for scooping up all the young 25-year-old and younger baddies that would kind of run through the flipping that would kind of come up in the scene, and he'd kind of get them first before anybody else, right? He was known to be that dude. He was always significantly older than the girls who he was kind of dating or whatever it may be. And only recently has he now hooked up with a lady who has a kid, is a bit older, and I guess he's seeing the benefits of it, which is funny because, you know, the fans like myself and people who are fans of the Reddit and whatever, who are fans of the podcast, have been screaming for the longest time that it's really cringe when you hear Joe basically complaining about relationships and sex and women and shit and whatever it may be, and most of it was through the lens of a guy that's only fucking strippers and 25-year-olds. It's like, dude, they don't speak for all women. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole breadth of women out there that you're completely oblivious to because you're only into a particular type. Now that he's dating a woman who's clearly got her own life going on, makes her own money, has her own kind of family, whatever life experiences, a little bit older, he's now seeing the benefits of it, and now he's trying to poo-poo others who were doing the same thing that he was doing only a couple of years ago. That's a little bit lame. So I can understand why Drake would hear that and be offended. The other point of it as well is, it's the unavoidable thing of like talking for a living. When you talk for a living, you become successful from it. And again, I hope this doesn't happen to me. I hope when I finally start to make some actual real coins from this to support myself and kind of help out my family and shit, that doesn't happen to me. But it generally does to a lot of podcasters, where you talk enough for a living, you start to adopt a tone of how, like, you know what you're talking about, as if you've got intrinsic knowledge of the topic that you're talking about and you know how to do it best. It can come across like that. It's unavoidable for some reason. And I feel like if you're Drake and you're hearing Joe critique your career and tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, you can maybe look at him with a bit of a side eye, like, bruh, you were never in the league though. You were never in the league like that. You were never in the league at this stage, in this era, with the pressures that are in there, with the conspiring with the record labels and the hating house people behind the scenes and the fans wanting more and this and that. It's a difficult thing to do, to be a pop star. I remember one of the things I remember that kind of opened my eyes to it was when I was a big Weeknd fan when he first came up, and I still am now, but back when he was not really, wanting to show his face on stage and sort of stuff, whatever it may be, and doing the House of Balloon stuff. I remember one pivotal album called Kissland that he did that really split the fan base, but it was also kind of his first step to sort of like pop stardom. And I remember him saying in an interview once that it's really easy for him to do House of Balloons type music. Like he basically said he could do 30 of those albums with his eyes closed easily. But he said the hardest thing to do is to create pop records that appeal to the masses, because there's so many different people out there in the world, right? You're having to kind of create these albums and these songs that touch people from all different parts of the world, different life experiences, whatever it may be, but it be undeniable. That's a harder thing than actually creating music for a particular type of niche who likes a particular type of brand of R&B or music, whatever he makes. So the thing that Drake is doing at the level that he's doing it is really difficult to do, to keep experimenting, to trying new sounds, and also keeping your fans fed or satisfied is really hard. And I think he does a really good job at it, especially when it comes to the compilations, when it comes to the singles, when it comes to collabs, when it comes to the Lucy's that he throws out there. He does a pretty good job to kind of appease all of his fans. Maybe one of his criticisms you could kind of levy at Drake is that he's probably a little bit too much of a listener pleaser, which is probably why his last recent albums have been quite enjoyable to me. Honestly, never mind the compilation thing, not So If I Love Her, but I didn't really enjoy that one. And then obviously For All the Dogs, I felt like were the first times he sort of like done something for himself, right? Like a sort of like, you know, a selfish sort of project full of stuff that he's been into at that current moment. I kind of like that, especially the For All the Dogs, because obviously it was mostly recorded while he was on tour. So, you know, you would imagine a lot of it was just stuff that he was into, stuff that he liked, and obviously he kind of, you know, finished all of it and then dropped it for all of us to listen to. So that might be one of the criticisms you can levy at him. Maybe he tries to people please too much and should maybe be a little bit more selfish, like a Drake, or sorry, like a Ye, and make albums that he just wants to make them the way he wants to make it. You like it or you don't, and then keep it moving. Who knows? But I felt like that's where the criticism, or that's where Drake could probably be a little bit offended at Joe, because he's thinking, hey man, you are not really in the ring like that. You never really got it like that. You should know how hard it is, you know, at this type of level, and you should have a little bit more grace. And maybe because there are kind of friends, him coming the way that he came at him, especially when it comes to the girls thing, the stuff that he said about his birthday, the age shaming was really weird, because that was something that was levied at Joe. Joe always got that kind of stick from people, right? That he is a particular age and he's messy. He's a particular age and he talks a certain way. He's a particular age and he likes certain women. He's a particular age and he acts a certain way. That's something that's always levied against him. So to him to use the same insult towards Drake, knowing how hurtful or where it comes from, is probably something that probably you would imagine got under Drake's skin to the point where he was like, no. I can't be having this guy out here talking and besmirching my name like that. So, of course, in a very rare instance, Drake decided to get into the comments and completely eviscerate Joe. And I don't know, even though I don't listen to the Joe Budden podcast anymore, I felt really sad for him. I'm not going to lie, because, you know, at one point they were kind of friendly. At one point, the running joke of the Joe Budden podcast was, oh, when we're going to get Drake on for an interview. But I think it's fair to say, after this absolute destruction of a comment, most likely we're never going to get Drake ever on that podcast ever again, or he's never going to come on there, even if he was meant to come on there before. It's not happening anymore now. So Drake reacted. I posted this comment on Instagram via DJ Academics' page from the clip that I just showed you, and he said in response, and at in Joe Budden too, right? So he put a fucking name on it, which is fucking crazy. He said, at Joe Budden, you have failed at music. You left it behind to do what you're doing in this clip because this is what actually pays your bills. For any artist watching this, just remember you're watching a failure give their opinion on his idea of a recipe for success. A quitter give their opinion on how to achieve longevity. You switch careers because the things that pop into your brain had you broke, living check to check, and the raps you write had 450 men showing up to your shows in dusty N-Ice jeans to screw up their face to New Music 29 and pretend that you're the GOAT. Please, to any artist that's doing what they feel is right, don't let these opinions affect your mindset after the fact. This guy is the poster child of frustration and surrendering. You retired and we never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. We know you for doing this, ... You withdrew from rap not because you accomplished all you need to, it's because it wasn't working for you. I never want anybody in this generation to think that the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing, ... This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact that I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. If you need to put it in simpler terms, I own a 6767. He owns a modest house in the 973 and flies first class on special occasions. Absolute ether and mic drop. I like that he used this chance to dunk on Joe as also an opportunity to teach or to kind of give a lesson to younger artists to not pay too much mind to podcasters and shit. But then he's also writing an entire paragraph full of insults that clearly, you know, kind of give the impression he might have been a little bit, you know, it might have cut a bit close to home. There might be some truth in what Joe said. So I like the, you know, I love the kind of duality of that. But I think I will afford Drake some grace and just say he was just fed up of hearing Joe talk like he knew what he was talking about. Basically, I think we all felt that way. Listen to pods, especially Joe and other people. Like, they talk with such certainty about the industry, and you're like, yo, you haven't even done anything in that space. You know what I mean? You were never successful. You quit to do podcasting because the music wasn't working for you. How now do you know what it takes to be one of the biggest stars in the world? Do you know what I mean? You have no idea because you couldn't do it at your little small level or on your little scale, whatever it may be. So I just think it was just an annoyance. And he just, you know, essentially just put out all the thoughts that he's always probably held and had about Joe into one very brutal comment. It also sounded very Rust coded, right? In terms of like teaching other artists how to approach certain things and say, hey, look at this guy. Don't listen to him. He's not serious. Don't let somebody like this dissuade you from your dreams and blah, 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 because it's clear that Drake is having a bit of a reawakening. He's sort of having a different mindset when life, relationships, obviously the Yachty relationship and friendship is probably key to it, but you can see he's definitely coming into a place where he's a little more comfortable in his own skin. You can obviously see it visibly based on how he's doing his hair, his nails and shit, the clips in his hair and stuff, the stuff that he's wearing. He started to design his own clothes. I think those pants that he's always wearing are stuff that he designs himself in different fabrics. So clearly you can see him coming into a bit more of a self-actualization type of thing, right? Being at one with himself. And the last thing he's going to want is somebody to tell him what to do at this stage of his career when he's essentially has written his own ticket to do what he wants, right? He's been so successful in the past with so many bangers of albums and singles and shit that it afforded him the luxury to take more chances now as he's kind of progressing in his career. And he's also used the opportunity to put other people on, right? I like the fact that a lot of the features on the album actually have kind of felt that to me. They felt like a bit of a homage, not a homage, they felt like a gratitude feature. Like, instead of him just going on there trying to like bar somebody, like there's even a picture of him saying Yeet carried or something, right? This meme. And basically people are saying, oh yeah, Yeet absolutely dunked on Drake. I think Drake likes that. He wants that. He wanted all the features on this album to outshine him. He wanted it to be kind of a celebration of the stuff that he's into and likes and stuff. So there's a lot of gratitude, I think, that's mixed in with some of the toxicity on the album. So to him to hear somebody as toxic as the Toxic King, Joe Budden, say what he said, he probably took it personally, and that's why he ripped him the way that he did. All the disses in here are incredible and very funny, very petty, but kind of, you know, a reminder that you are never really friends with these people. I think Joe gave the same response or advice to DJ Academics, but I think he forgot his advice for himself. I think he always mistaken the success that he had with his pod as some sort of acceptance and whatever it may be, or reverence and respect from artists. That's my current feeling. I think I think Joe honestly did think because his podcast was going off and people were loving it, that people in the industry actually liked him. And I think a good sign of this is this post here, courtesy of the Reddit that someone posted. It's a screenshot taken from the Shade Room comment that's kind of, you know, rounding up the news and Drake's flipping reply. And you can see here in the likes down below that Big Sean liked this post. And Joe and Big Sean are meant to be cool. So I think it's clear to see for me that a lot of these artists kind of tolerated Joe because his platform's big, maybe respected him because of he's got a big platform, who knows. But in terms of musically and his opinion on, you know, the industry and how to make it and shit, they probably looked at him like a bit of a goof. Like, bro, you never really made it that far. You've not really made yourself, you know, popular in that shape and form. You only made it pop yourself on pods and stuff. They probably never took him too seriously, so they probably were all waiting for somebody to rip into him the way that Drake did. And obviously, even being the biggest star in the world to do it, it probably hits a little bit closer to home and makes more sense to kind of agree with anybody else. So I think in Joe's head, again, like I said previously, I just think he, for some reason, forgot that people have never really liked him. I think that was usually the appeal of Joe Budden and being a Joe Budden fan. No one really liked him, and then he won with surrounded by his friends doing what he wanted, right? He won doing what he wanted, surrounded by his friends with this amazing podcast that was talking about culture, talking about music. You know, it kind of reminded you of your own friendship group. Or if you had no friends like me, it kind of made you feel like you had friends because of this weird parasocial relationship you had, listening to them every single week. But I think he mistaken that success as an indication that he was now respected in the industry. I don't think that's ever been the case, personally. I think he's always, you know, unfortunately, Joe's personality is very hard to like I've always said, and people have always said also, it's probably very difficult to be Joe's friend. So you can imagine what he must be like behind closed doors and shit, especially as an artist over the years and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. But I think he mistaken that success as, okay, the industry loves me again. And this fucking back and forth with Drake was a reminder that no, they actually don't. They tolerated you because you're the biggest guy out there making fucking pods and shit, but it's not as if they actually like you. And this is a reminder that he needed, that hey, maybe the scene doesn't like you the way they do. You need to kind of settle and chill. But I also have sympathy for Joe because I think, unfortunately, when you do a pod, it's really hard not to sound like you know what you're talking about at all times, because you're just talking, you know, for the sake of talking. It's hard not to come across like you have any sort of authority. I think it's just the nature of this talking platforms. And I think it also is one of those things where I've kind of understood for myself when it comes to the DJing, electronic music side of things. When I finally achieve what I need to achieve in that scene and I become a touring, you know, DJ who's playing in big clubs and shit, I know that I'm going to have to probably chill out on some of the critiques that I have of the scene, of certain clubs, of certain DJs, of certain mixes, of certain albums and stuff, because it becomes more political. I'm sure once I get in the industry, I'll start to see certain things a different way. I'll start to maybe understand why certain people do certain things a certain way, and it'll make me a bit more, you know, I guess, compassionate about the positions and things that people do, and a bit more understanding, so that I wouldn't go into them too hard. But it has to change. You just can't be in it and also be a commentator. You have to decide one or the other. And I think Joe's basically been reminded of that also again. Like, you're never going to be viewed as just a commentator because you were once a rapper, you were once in the industry, you were once trying to pursue your own musical career and it didn't work out and it kind of quote unquote failed and you gave up into podcasting. So now you trying to dunk on people who are still active, who are still, you know, putting up numbers, who are still out here. It can be viewed a little bit like, bro, come on, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be for real. So I get Drake's response to it, but it's just unfortunate that when you write this much amount of text, it's really hard not for it to come across like you're pressed, you know? That's the only issue. When it's this amount of words, it's hard not for it to come across like you give a fuck. Even if you write one line, it just sounds like you're hating, it sounds like it hurt. When you write a whole paragraph, people think that you're hurt. So it depends. Do you just ignore it and act like you didn't see it, even though you disagree with everything that person says and you think they're talking out their ass? Or do you want to use it as a teachable moment to remind people, hey, I'm not someone to be joked with, I take my art seriously. Also, if you're going to come at me correct, especially if you haven't got your own affairs in orders. But I think this is, you know, it's kind of on par with what Drake's been on this year, or this, you know, in the run up to the album, because he did the same thing to Elliot Wilson too, right? He gave him a big dressing down also. So I'm not surprised that he was not having it when flipping Thingy said what he said. Then he also played this really funny clip. I'm going to see if I can get it up on here, bear with me. But he played this clip basically talking about, you know, the whole Joe thing again, and basically saying, oh, this guy thought he was Kobe, and it's a clip taken, I think, from the Golden State Warriors. I think it's a documentary maybe that they have because of their championship. Again, I'm not a basketball guy, so please forgive me, but he played this clip on his Instagram stories regarding the whole thing that I thought was absolutely hilarious. Let me play it for you now.
World tour, they don't love you like chasing that fair world tour, they don't love you like that. You can't get no fair world tour, they don't love you like that. You ain't got that type of love. You thought you was Kobe?
You're not Kobe. Why are you talking? The one thing about trash talk is it just happened. Boom, you say something, boom, it's right there. I think it was amazing. It also shut him right up.
If you're going to come at him and start something with him, you better be able to take it, because he's going to come right back at you.
Trash talk isn't hard.
I love it. You thought you was Kobe. You thought you was Kobe. So obviously, Drake, he said what he said there. Then he posted a screenshot on his Instagram. Sorry, then he posted a post on his Instagram stories with the caption, "You thought you was Kobe," laughing. And then that wasn't enough, right? He kind of, for Joe Budden, he then decided to go after fucking Parks, which is hilarious, right? Because all I hear whenever I hear see Parks' name is Miles saying Parks. And it's funny because Parks has been a unapologetic Joe Budden cockholster, right? He's been sucking him off since the breakup. He's made it very clear where his allegiances lie. And it was kind of gross, to be honest, when the whole breakup happened, how quickly he sided with Joe, his inability to be objective and the whole beef and stuff. But I guess he knows where his bread is buttered, and he made it very, very clear. So he was sucking off Joe, and ever since then, he's kind of been Joe's kind of cheerleader, always giggling at whatever he's saying on the pod in the background and stuff, and just a little bit annoying of how much of a arse licker he is. So it's quite nice that he's getting some shots fired at him also, because, if you're going to lick Joe Budden's arse, you also have to accept that you're going to maybe catch some strays along the way. So he posted a picture of Parks looking like Parks does, and also posted a caption underneath that says the following: sorry, one more thing, ... Imagine listening to Mark Zuckerberg tell the next generation about good verses and turnt beats. And then he's got obviously Parks looking the way that he does. So, basically comparing Parks to the uncoolest guy ever is fucking incredible. Mark Zuckerberg is a lot of things, but he's not a cool dude, and he's not going to be able to, give good critiques on turnt beats or good verses, which is funny because I'd love to see Mark Zuckerberg see this and take it as a challenge and start producing. Imagine Mark Zuckerberg goes in the lab, puts out a little skit in reply to this and proves everybody wrong. No, I've actually got some sauce. Watch me make a tune. Watch me make a thing. Like, he's got a fucking moniker, Big Zucks or something. That would be pretty sick if that happened, but I doubt it's going to happen. But yeah, I love Drake for actually tearing apart everybody and going at them. And it's also going to be good content. I think anybody that's a fan of Joe or has heard Joe Budden's podcast and content will know he has no capacity for embarrassment or shame. He's a content over everything type of guy, similar to Adam 22. So he's going to love this. As embarrassing and as as this is to get obliterated like this by the biggest star in music, right? This should be embarrassing for anybody. He's going to love it because it's going to give him content for the next 10 plus years. And it also kind of puts to bed this idea that him and Drake aren't cool, or he doesn't talk to him, or doesn't know what he says, doesn't see anything. That whole narrative can die now because he's going to be playing it up now because he knows Drake's always going to be watching his content, or he knows people are going to be thinking Drake's watching his content. So you're going to see fucking Joe really basking in the glory of Drake saying what he said about him. So be prepared for the next podcast to be either a cope session where he tries to cop please, or it'll be a session where he basically tries to say this was all part of the plan, he's pressed, all this sort of stuff. Or maybe even a wild card option. You may see Joe go back in a booth and lay some crazy verses down on a track and actually go fucking, go all the way in on flipping Drake and make it be known that, hey, don't talk to me that way. I can outbar you. That might be an option. You never know. But let's see what happens. Next, I want to talk about this quickly as well regarding Ian Schwartzman, one of the business partners of Joe Budden, going on Twitter and deciding to, again, put on his cape for Joe and defend him. And I was wondering to myself, right, how do you be this person? How do you know this is for you? Because I read these tweets and I want to throw up in my mouth when I read them. I understand that Ian Schwartzman is, again, part of Joe Budden's fucking network. He helps him business-wise, and it's to his benefit that Joe is successful, that Joe is in the news and viral, because that probably helps pay his mortgage, that helps put his kids in private school, and whatever it may be. So there's incentive with it, right? But openly sucking off somebody like this is just so gross and cringe for me. But I guess this is part of the reason why I'm probably not as successful as Ian Schwartzman, because he plays his position correctly. He knows where his bread's buttered, and he does everything in his power to protect his interest. And one of the ways to protect your interest is by going on Twitter and slobbering on your boss, which he did here. In one way, he did it with this first tweet that says, "Be the guy or girl behind the quote-unquote guy or the quote-unquote girl." That's a valuable position. That sounds like a very sus, by the way. Being behind the scenes can have rewards far greater than being in the light. Most people never reach those heights because they can't play their position. They let ego lead them astray instead, which is basically a way of saying, it's easier to be the number two of somebody very talented because there's less talented people than there are number twos. So if you know you're mid, if you know you're average, if you know you don't have the talent to be the main guy, just be behind the number two. That's basically what you're saying. Another one, the best only acknowledge the best. They don't waste time shooting down. Hopefully that makes sense. So he's obviously slobbering on Joe and essentially saying Drake is only responding to Joe because Joe's the best podcaster that ever lived, which is fucking incredibly insane to say. But hey, again, he knows his bread is buttered. Another tweet says, the best show in the world, dot. Cringe. And the last one, Joe Budden is the most important figure in media. Unconventional in approach, untethered to any agenda-driven entity. No relationships interfere with his true opinions. Ask him about Diddy. Ask him about Cardi B. Okay, cool. No stage name, no act. A former MC turned media mogul with the world constantly listening and watching. Yo, I want to vomit and I want to fucking run my face into a wall so badly. But I wonder, how do you become this person? How do you become the person that's unapologetically got your cape on and sucking off your boss in public like this? Like, I could never do it personally. It legitimately fills me with absolute, fear to be that person that would be on social media sucking somebody off and trying to defend a grown man who's well and capable of defending themselves. This is legitimately gross. But again, Joe has a good way of surrounding himself with sycophants and yes men, and this is another one. Even if Joe was in the wrong, he wouldn't have called him out. He would be on social media fucking sucking him off. But the way that he's doing it now is incredibly gross, and as per usual with men, it just doesn't hit the same. When men do this type of thing, it just doesn't hit right. When women do it with each other, it is what it is. Yes, queen, represent. But when men suck each other off in public, there's no way to not view it as glazing. There's no way to not view it as you offering your ass to your friend to give you back shots. It's impossible not to see it that way. So yeah, Ian Schwartzman, I guess he's playing his position. I guess it's good to be a good number 2, but I wouldn't do it in that way. It's just a bit too flagrant. It's just a bit too gross for me personally. But again, what do I know? What do I know? And then we need to talk about a little bit. Let's follow this one. So this is courtesy of an account called Whorehead Sales, which is featuring a very incredible, impeccable pair of 1985 Jordan 1s in neutral grey, a size 8.5 in US, and the price at the moment, I guess, or near offers, is around $18,500 for this brand new in the box 1985 Jordan 1 in neutral grey. It looks absolutely incredible from the box to the shoe itself. It's in absolute pristine, brand new condition, absolutely incredible. And the reason why I wanted to feature this and talk about this is this. I wonder when or why or how long it will take for Nike to finally decide to invest some money in R&D or whatever it may be to do some shoes and make them to spec like this. I know they're already doing the reimagined stuff, but that isn't really to spec as it should be, in my personal opinion. Obviously, I feel like the reimagined shoes are more so high quality Jordans in terms of levers, as opposed to actually trying to make the shoe exact specifications of how it released in 1985. They're not really doing to that detail. They're not going as crazy as they could on a box, as crazy as they can on a card, as crazy as they can on the aging, as crazy as they can on the shape, on what materials. They're not doing that. They're just improving the materials, which is fine. I think I've spoken about it before. I think I've said in general, because the sneaker industry is a fucking multi-billion-dollar industry now at the moment, and you're still peddling the same fucking retros, if you're going to be selling retros and not investing in actually creating new classics, why not try to release limited edition shoes in high quality levers? Don't give us limited edition shoes in GR or LE materials. Give it to us in high level tier 0 type materials. And then if you want to charge a premium, but don't give us Union Jordans and basic levers. That's not fair. Personally, I don't think that's fair, especially if you're going to just keep re-releasing retros or even just regular retros of Jordan 11s and shit. Make it high level quality materials. But then if you then start making these ones, reimagined pairs, in the original spec when they originally dropped in the fucking 80s and whatever it may be, make them exactly to specification and even charge more if you want to, like Hender scheme level pricing, like $500, $1,000, whatever. Do that, please. And people will buy them. People will happily buy them, but releasing these Jordans and having it be reimagined and just teabag staying in the midsole isn't enough. There needs to be more to it, and I hope Nike does do that going forward. I hope there is a option or there is something that they do to kind of progress things forward with retros and really move the needle by re-releasing old colorways or stuff that never came out back in the day, catalog stuff that you've seen before in the original specification, and then putting it out there, because that will really make a difference for sneakerheads, instead of just releasing the same shit in the same colorways with just fucking worse materials than when they originally came out. Because the shape of these original 1985 Jordan 1s is incredible compared to the ones you see nowadays. Even the one just here in the box, you see how flat the midsole is, something I speak about ad nauseum on this podcast, about how most retros have that weird banana toe kind of lift at the front. You have this really nice midsole that's kind of completely flat to the floor in terms of its profile, in terms of the, you know, the kind of shape that it has. The shape of the toe box is really impressive. Also, it's not as pointy and as flat as the retros that we have nowadays that usually cause a bit of a headache when it comes to sizing. There's a bit more of a squared, round off shape on the front of the toe box here. The laces look good. Like everything about it, the sturdiness, the shape of it, it just looks beautiful. So I would love for them to really do some reverse engineering and kind of retooling, whatever it may be, to build a shoe from scratch and actually put these out as retros, and actually put these out even at a higher price point. If you want to make the money, people will queue out for these. Sneakerheads, especially the American ones who love fucking Jordans, would happily buy a Jordan 1 that's made to the exact specifications of when it originally came out in 85, as opposed to just making a shoe with a fucking stained box and a crinkled label and stained midsoles, but not actually investing in what it actually looks like. That's shit. I don't really like that. I want them to actually invest some time and money in making these shoes actually what they look like in the past, because that old shape is undefeated. It really is undefeated. Absolutely incredible looking shoe. Want to see more of it when they eventually do come out. Hopefully we see them and we see an improvement on the reimagined pair, and it's not just, like I said before, the same old retros with just shitter materials, because that's unfair, especially for the sneakers that are going to be queuing up and buying all these things. It really, really is unfair. Anyways, that has been the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 713. Thank you so much for tuning in and being in my company. That's been really great and amazing. I really do welcome it. If it's your first time checking out the show, please make sure you like the stream down below. If you want to share it with your friends, please also make sure you do that down below. And of course, the links to the tune of the day, which is playing under my voice, the links to my social medias and stuff is in the description. The links to my Patreon, where you can find bonus episodes of the show, is available also on my fucking description. Click on it, engage, do the things that you need to do, and I'll see all you guys again very, very soon. Take care, be safe, peace.